Chapter 5350. Wan Dao Sword Sovereign. In his mind, King Bai laughed as he watched and said, Jian Wushuang, you must not let go of these beautiful ladies. If you can't, I will come. You get out of here. Jian Wushuang scolded with a smile. But when the young woman approached, he was really shaken. Of course, it wasn't that the heart was moved, but it was shaken to kill. The arms slowly rested on her back, and a burst of coolness rose instantly, rushing straight to his source, and he was intercepted instantly before he got close to his source. Jian Wushuang's eyes also changed at this moment. The other party seemed to know his identity. Haning. Jian Wushuang whispered the other's name. Haning slowly broke free of Jian Wushuang's arm and backed away a few steps. There was a trace of sadness in her eyes. The two looked at each other for a long time before Haning said coldly, You are not him. Jian Wushuang saw that he couldn't hide. He changed his body immediately, revealing his true face, and there was no need to hide anything in front of a dying person. When did you find it? Jian Wushuang's eyes shrank. He thinks he has a perfect disguise. How could he be discovered by the other party? However, Chiu leaked a hint of smile, tilted his head, and leaked sharp tiger teeth, and said with a smile, The moment I heard your heartbeat. As he said, a palm hit his chest. The whole person took a few steps back, and the corners of his mouth overflowed with blood. Jian Wushuang didn't stop him, but quietly released his thought power to wrap the entire courtyard. Cough cough, don't worry, I will die soon. Haning said with a smile, and then said, Can you still hold me like him? Is it necessary? Jian Wushuang looked at each other with cold eyes. How deep he is. How could he be fooled? What if he was attacked by the other party just in the past? She is a promised divine body. Who knows if there is any success? Are the emperors so timid? I'm just a Taoist. Someone who couldn't believe it looked at Jian Wushuang again, revealing a look of surprise. However, Jian Wushuang still looked like Jian Qi was close, and walked over slowly. Haning saw this, leaking a trace of sadness, and when he raised his hand to hold Jian Qi Jin, her eyes suddenly shrank, and finally failed to hold Jian Qi Jin, and fell heavily under Jian Wushuang's feet. In her hand there is also a light blue dagger. Looking at the power of ice on it, it is estimated that it contains the power of the promised divine body. No matter how strong Jian Wushuang was, he wouldn't dare to pierce people like this casually. King Bai shook his head and said regretfully, What a loving couple, what a pity. Why don't you go down and accompany her? Jian Wushuang said angrily, You can be like what you are today. 8 achievements are for this reason. King Bai waved his small hand and quickly said, Forget it, there are people below to accompany her. But no one accompanies me, and I can cultivate to the 6th order emperor. But there is a great opportunity, don't underestimate me. Is Chun Zima's chance of rotten millet, no matter how big it is? Jian Wushuang said, pointing to the sky. With a movement of mind, Han Ying's corpse was directly turned into a phantom. This is the phantom of the divine body. Unfortunately, it's not for me. King Bai looked at the shadow with a little regret. Jian Wushuang said, There is nothing wrong with it, but this divine body needs too much investment, and the meaning of promise can stay. This natural divine body can be sold for a good price. Are you going to swallow the meaning of promise in her body? King Bai looked at him in surprise. Jian Wushuang nodded. I don't like picking fruits. The meaning of promise can help me condense the divine body faster. As long as I swallow a little bit, I can evolve all things. Naturally contains the meaning of promise. The promised divine body is one of the 10 special divine bodies in ancient times. King White once followed the divine body genre, and it was also one of the top 10 divine bodies. Otherwise it would not be exaggerated to more than 60,000 times. At the beginning, he didn't slaughter special beings less. The divine body was a harder road than the original. At least the origin can be cultivated slowly. But the divine body does not need to be cultivated, and needs to be accumulated by treasures all the time. After swallowing the meaning of promise, Jian Wushuang's divine body began to transform. This small courtyard is also suitable for retreat. After putting away the corpse, he took the phantom of King Bai and entered the room. The furnishings inside were very simple. There was a portrait of Jian Qi on the top, A stalwart man carried a divine sword on his back and had 2 temples. Gray. With a wave of his hand, the portrait ignites spontaneously. Jian Wushuang sat cross-legged on the soft blanket and began to fuse the divine body. The divine body already 8,000 times. I don't know if it can completely break through 10,000 this time. The fusion of the meaning of promise will enhance a lot of divine bodies. Wanbei is a threshold, and the treasures needed to break through are too expensive. At least it is a treasure with more than 10 million sacred stones. Now what he wants to break through is the origin. There are not so many divine stones to stabilize the divine body. If the origin of the candle dragon can be restored, the beast god realm may help his divine body to break through 10,000 times. And it will be even stronger under the blessing. It's a pity that it's almost useless now. After integrating the meaning of promise, the divine body 10,000 times has reached its limit. And if you want to break through, you can only use more powerful treasures. The highest blessing in the beast god realm is 10,000, and once the basic divine body reaches 10,000, it is useless. Such a good treasure can only be seen now when I get it. The wings of the beast god and the armor of the beast god are somewhat useful. The former can make him perceive the space faster, and the defense of the latter is not weaker than the eternal treasure. This clone retreats here for a few months. Outside world. After Xia Mengguanyu kept a low profile for a few months, it was obvious that changes had begun in the imperial city. As he guessed, that uncle did indeed return from the battlefield of the southern kingdom, and at the same time he brought Daxia's 100,000 elites, each of whom was a powerful Taoist, and each with a murderous aura. This is the Taoist who came back from the battlefield. The ordinary Taoist monarch is much stronger. On this day, Xianyuan Mansion held a banquet for Xianyuan on high. Emperor Daxia also asked this High House sister, Xia Mengguanyu's mother, to come and visit in person. In addition to some senior officials on the court and the field, some fourth-order emperors and powerhouses also came one after another. Each of the 4 uncles of Xia Mengguanyu was the strongest among the fourth-order emperors, and his mother was also the fourth-order emperor. From the Xianyuan family, there were 5 fourth-order emperors from the generation of An, who were much better than the generation of the old man. In Xianyuan Dapan's generation, he alone became a 5th-order emperor, and a 3rd brother became a 4th-order emperor. The rest were not very popular, and some were even emperors. Looking at it again, the ancestors are also 4th-order emperors. Wang also started from Xianyuan Dapan, allowing the family to make this great Xia wealthy. Especially Xianyuan Dapan's direct line, the 5 4th-order emperors, each has great potential and strong combat power. Plus Xianyuan Anshui who entered the palace, all occupy high positions. Chapter 53-51. Wan Dao Sword Sovereign. Either he is out there, or he is in a prominent position in the ruling and opposition parties. Xia Mengguanyu took her mother's arm and walked slowly into the main hall. At this time, it was already full of people. According to the family banquet, Xianyuan Anshui could not be the main seat, but today he came with the emperor's will and naturally took the main seat. Brother, hurry up and get your seat. Concubine Anshui waved her hand to interrupt as soon as the person wanted to worship. Jian Wushuang was sitting aside, sitting with a few cousins. This kind of banquet is the most useless on the surface. But within an hour, the people from all walks of life dispersed, and the Xianyuan family also entered the secret room in the backyard. In addition to the local Xianyuan 5 tigers who are eligible to come here, there are also family patriarch Xianyuan Dapan, as well as several scary ancestors with high generations. A total of 10 4th-order emperors, 1 5th-order emperor, and Jian Wushuang's heir. And Shui is here this time, and the opportunity for the rise of our Xianyuan family is right in front of us. So I'll just say it. Xianyuan Dapan glanced around, his eyes low. The position of the Xianyuan family is still not very strong in his opinion. Although there is Xianyuan Anshui, the concubine in the harem, she is not a queen after all, and she is not enough in power. The sons are very good, but he is very pleased with this. Each of them holds authority. However, strength is the key, What he needs is the fifth-order emperor who inherits him. Once he falls, everything in front of him is just passing by. Father, will your old man also play in this foreign campaign? And Haiho asked with some worry. He had just returned and heard about the Maluo kingdom. Today's border is like a Shura field, with great battles every day. Before he returned, General Gutong, one of the 3 great generals of the empire, had already taken 1 million troops to the border of Maluo. The war has escalated to the point where it is out of control. War is bound to start. And now only the man in the palace chooses the manpower. Now it seems that their Xianyuan family has been chosen. These years are still too high profile. It is normal to be selected. Xianyuan Depan let out a smile and said lightly, choosing our Xianyuan family is within my expectation. There is no need to worry about this. By then, the second and third child will just follow me. The fourth child is in retreat. Don't bother him if there is nothing to do. Fourth brother is in retreat again, can it be said? And Haiho leaked a look of surprise. The ancestors who were sitting on the main seat spoke at this moment with a hoarse voice. I can go to 2 of you this time. It has already given that person a lot of face. My Xianyuan Jiaxing is in the contemporary era, and I must never be in the contemporary era. When the ancestor spoke, even Xianyuan Depan, the contemporary patriarch, bowed his head and listened. On the day of the expedition, come here to worship the ancestors. Let your family talk about intimate things. We old guys will go back first. The voices of the ancestors disappeared here. After the ancestors left, only Xianyuan Depan and his third brother remained in the secret room, as well as 5 children under his knees. For a while, Xianyuan Depan leaked the coldness on his face. You all must remember that today's achievements are inseparable from the family. This time I am afraid a few ancestors. At this point, Xianyuan Depan couldn't help lowering his head, tears in his eyes. Several ancestors, when he was weak, took care of him in every possible way. The Xianyuan family at that time was just a small family. He caused trouble outside. Either the third brother helped him, or the ancestors wiped his behind. Now several ancestors are all on the battlefield for the sake of several younger generations. The emperor's battle this time was not only to attack the Maluo kingdom, but also to weaken their nobles. Yesterday, when the secret letter was sent from the palace, Xuanyuan's family had to dispatch at least 5 direct emperors. If you don't go, don't even think about returning one of the 5 people. If you go, he can keep 1 or 2. As the mountain of Xuanyuan's family, he could only bite the bullet this time. When Xianyuan Anshui heard this, there was anger in his eyes. The emperor's family is the most ruthless. This is her family. Several elder brothers and younger brothers were born and died to serve the great summer, and now they cut it and cut it. There is no feeling at all. Shuair, you must not be angry with that person. Our Xianyuan family is not afraid of fighting. If I didn't fight, I wouldn't have today. You can rest assured that I will bring them back safely. Xianyuan Depan is very confident. The identity of is not simple. He is still a member of the K organization. This time he attacked Imoluo, but he received the above order, must advocate conquering Imoluo. He is a second-rank elder, and is considered to be the core. But he still doesn't know much about the K organization. And even King Bai knows very little about the secrets. I'm afraid that only the knows it. Afterwards, they began to discuss the Maluo kingdom for this battle. On the border, there are 4 huge cities, and there are countless military camps outside. Their Xianyuan family will go to the 4th city, which is the fiercest battlefield. It has just been cast there, and the death rate is very high. I heard that hundreds of emperors have fallen. Jian Wushuang almost fell asleep when he heard it. It was really meaningless, and was about to destroy this hair automatically. But he didn't expect Xianyuan Depan to mention him, or even Xia Meng Guanyu. Shuair, let Yuer come to my room later. I have something to discuss with him. Xianyuan Anshui was a little surprised, but he didn't expect that his father would look for Xia Meng Guanyu. This kid is weird. He might have joined the co-organization secretly, and his status is not low. Xianyuan Depan's face was puzzled. When Xianyuan Anshui heard this, his heart sank, and he quickly said, "You are actually." At the same time, in the imperial capital, It was like a deep shadow overwhelming. A group of crows scattered in all directions and landed in various houses. Like the Xianyuan family, many people in the mansion are discussing in the secret room, but many of them mention that the K organization is at least half of them. If these people knew that there were half of the traders in the imperial city today, they didn't know what they would think. Jian Wushuang was laid back. The Kuei organization couldn't handle him at all, but these were different. They were either greedy or brainwashed, or they had a handle by the Kuei organization. This time, overhearing Zuanyuan's conversation, he was not just to know some of the secret things, but for other things. Soon, Xianyuan Depan began to talk about the auction. I am afraid that I will be after the auction when I go out to the Maluo. This time the auction is very important, and the Xianyuan family will naturally purchase it. Father, I have prepared hundreds of billions of sacred stones, which can be transferred at any time. Xianyuan Anqing flipped over and took out a mustard seed and handed it to his father Xianyuan Depan. Hundreds of billions of sacred stones are also the limit for these big families. Excluding the usual expenses, it is good to be able to save so much. Chapter 53-52. Wan Dao Sword Sovereign. This is what Jian Wushuang most likes to hear. How much is left in the library? Xianyuan Depan asked after taking the mustard seeds. There is still about 1 billion, enough to maintain the family for several years. Xianyuan Depan flipped his hands and took out his mustard seeds. There are billions left here. Put it into the family inventory. The operation of a large family requires tens of billions of sacred stones, and only 1 billion is too stretched. Xianyuan Anqing, as the eldest son, has been managing the entire family. His father is a fifth-order emperor, and it is impossible to manage those trivial matters. Father, this. Xianyuan Anqing was still a little moved after seeing his father take out his private property. It is too tired to carry the whole family by one person. He wants to share, but can only do some of his own things. Xianyuan Depan leaked a smile and comforted. My own treasure is enough. This time I mainly get a set of decent treasures for the second and third, and prepare some auxiliary treasures for the fourth. Indeed, his treasures are all eternal treasures, and ordinary auction houses do not have them, and the high prices are scary, and he obtained them from the Quebec organization. The conversation soon came to an end, and the hair that Jian Wushuang transformed into also followed the breath of the breeze, and stuck it to the boss Xianyuan Anqing. A fourth-order emperor, but with billions of sacred stones in his body, still made Jian Wushuang very tempted. Soon after the people dispersed, Xianyuan and Guogua Ran let him go to Xianyuan Depan's room. Boom! Jian Wushuang knocked on the door lightly, and a gentle voice came from inside. Come in. Entering the room, Xianyuan Depan sat on the main seat of the guest hall, drinking tea by himself, and left a cup for Jian Wushuang next to him. Grandpa, Xia Meng Guanyu greeted cordially, then he sat next to him naturally. Yue, how were you playing in Firefox Palace that day? Xianyuan Depan went straight to the subject as soon as he came up. Jian Wushuang could only pretend to be stupid. Well, it's not bad. I won a lot at the Colosseum that day, and they played with them for a few days, but it took my grandson a lot of magic stones. How you kid? Xianyuan Depan leaked a smile, and even if he didn't want to say it, he also knew the rules, so he didn't ask. However, there was still a lot of reminder, and they were all accepted by Jian Wushuang. Xianyuan Depan looked at Jian Wushuang very pleasedly. He used to think that his grandsons were not like him. On the contrary, this grandson had the charm of his youth. Moreover, Xia Meng Guanyu was the kind that was hidden deep enough. This time he knew this grandson thoroughly. The two seemed to say nothing, but in fact they passed a lot of useful information secretly. At least now we all know that they are all members of the Quebec organization. Speaking at the end, Xianyuan Depan said, Little guy, remember, there are people behind you. Some things shouldn't put such pressure on yourself. That's an abyss, and it's filled with unevenness. This sentence is obviously to remind Jian Wushuang that he should not fall into the trap of the Kuei organization. He is the Prince of Daxia. There is no shortage of resources, and there is no need to take too much risk. Jian Wushuang saw that the chat was over, and stood up immediately, came to Xianyuan Depan, bowed a big gift, respectfully said, "Grandson, remember Grandpa's words. You child, you are all a family, get up quickly." Xianyuan Depan said with a gentle smile, leaking out a smile. Jian Wushuang was not able to afford it, and said in a low voice, "Please also ask Grandpa to help his grandson. If he doesn't help, the grandson will be dead." As soon as Xianyuan Depan heard this, his expression changed, thinking that Jian Wushuang had some plan for him to help him. So he became solemn and said, "Tell me. Borrow money." Jian Wushuang knelt on the ground with his head buried between his knees. Xianyuan Depan laughed loudly and said, "Why do I still think about it? Just for some sacred stones?" Yes. Jian Wushuang was also honest enough to tell the truth directly. "Are you really going to the battlefield?" This time Xianyuan Depan showed a look of surprise. "Grandpa, you won't be able to accumulate military exploits without going to the battlefield. My second elder brother will go there, and even His Royal Highness will go. They have gone. Of course I will not stay in the imperial city," Jian Wushuang said sincerely. When Xianyuan Depan heard this, he smiled and said, "Okay. With your words, I will definitely support you. Xiameng Guanyu is a prince, and he will become a prince at the worst in the future, and will help them Xuanyuan's family. But now, he has joined the Quebec organization, and his status is not ordinary. Maybe he can still get that position. The future can be said to have unlimited prospects. It is nothing to invest a little money now. Let's talk, how much do you want?" Xianyuan Depan's voice was very grand. A Taoist monarch, how many gods can he need? Millions of things are nothing to him, as a fifth-order emperor. But when Xiameng Guanyu spoke, he was shocked. 1 billion. After Jian Wushuang finished speaking, he bowed down again. This Xianyuan Depan was a little embarrassed. 100 million was not a big deal to him, but there was a big family behind him, and he had to save everything. 100 million, many fourth-order emperors can't get it out. This kid really dared to ask. As the head of the family, he has long learned to reject or neutralize, and slightly adjusted his posture and said, you have to remember that foreign objects can't help yourself much. Everything depends on yourself. Grandpa, I want to break through the treasure of the divine body. My current divine body is too weak. Before entering the emperor, I want to break through 10,000 times the divine body. Xiameng Guanyu's body, the same as his divine body, is 8,000. It's easy to reach 10,000 times the divine body, and 20 million is enough, but it's a bit difficult to break through 10,000 times. The treasure needed is a sacred stone of over 100 million. Xianyuan Depan went on to say, I think your flesh body is a lot worse. You don't need to chase the power of the divine body too much, so as not to put too much pressure on the flesh body. Grandpa, look. Xiameng Guanyu waved his hand. His body destroyed himself, and then recovered at a speed visible to the naked eye. This represents the limit of the high-grade physical body. Xianyuan Depan didn't expect that this grandson would unexpectedly reach the perfect flesh body, still top grade. My heart is also moved. Maybe this grandson can really ascend to a high position in the future. However, 100 million is too hard to ask for, so I can't help but tactfully. But in the end it was given. Jian Wushuang took the mustard seeds, and his heart was agitated. When he went to Xuanyuan's house today, he first borrowed from a few cousins, hundreds of thousands less, and more than 1 million yuan, both big and small. The uncle was the most stingy. After talking for a long time, he only gave 2 million. The other uncles gave 5 million. He knew that the big head was in Xianyuan Depan. It was mainly because he stated the purpose of this battle, and some very important reasons that made Xianyuan Depan admire him. Otherwise he wouldn't really give him 100 million. It's getting late. My mother is still waiting for me, so my grandson will retire first. Xiameng Guanyu slowly retreated to the door after giving another salute. Chapter 53-53. Wan Dao Sword Sovereign. Bright light flashed in Xianyuan Depan's eyes and nodded. Today's 100 million sacred stone. It is not too bad to spend. At least Jian Wushuang gave him a rough overview of the situation in Mo Luo. It also involved some of the Quebec organization, and it was also a metaphor. This information was worth 100 million, and he didn't know some of it. For example, the eldest prince of the Maluo kingdom, who is not a member of the Kuei organization, can kill at will, and even speaks out the holy will. As long as the head of the eldest prince is beheaded, he will surely receive a great reward, and the family will be spared. Difficult. He also paid attention to the prince of Imoluo kingdom, and he was really ready to kill the opponent when he had the opportunity. Since they are not members of the Quebec organization, they are killed if they are killed. Jian Wushuang walked out of the room, but he was snickering in his heart. That cheap old lady outside was also a fat sheep. It would be a pity not to slaughter it. On the way back in the fly, Jian Wushuang had to give him a sacred adoration. Life and death is to ask for money. From the major events to the trivial things, he can be said to be proficient in everything. And he looks like a qualified high-ranking person. This makes Xianyuan and Shui was very pleased that his son was about to change, and his strength had become much stronger, and he was already able to compete with the emperor. It is not a problem to make a breakthrough in the future and directly achieve the third rank. It is not weaker than the prince, and can even catch up with the second prince. The most important thing is that Xia Meng Guanyu is hidden deep enough that she didn't even learn about it until now. Future achievements will not be worse than the second prince. In the harem, in addition to fighting for her own background and strength, it is more about fighting for her son. Now her son is not as bad as others said, and she is comforted by her heart. In the end, Jian Wushuang got involved in the auction house, and then set a number. What Jian Wushuang didn't expect was Xianyuan Anshui, which he gave directly and happily. The 50 million divine stone was handed directly to Jian Wushuang. Yuer, I will be short of resources in the future. I can find my mother at any time. Sometimes I don't need to go to the ancestral mansion. Understand? Xianyuan Anshui's words clearly meant to tell him that his strength can be hidden, and there is no need to be out of the edge. Leak. How could Jian Wushuang know this? Nodded and said yes, then said with a heart-wrenching, Mother, you can rest assured, I won't be like the second brother. N. Xianyuan Anshui's eyes smiled into a crescent shape. The reason why she has so many sacred stones is entirely because of the Colosseum. The royal family controls the Colosseum, the Fifth Order Emperor. Every year, the large divine stone of the Colosseum is handed over to her, and she transfers it to the treasury. Now it is the eldest princess who controls the treasury, the emperor's sister, and the same mother. The emperor is not a prince. When the ancestor abdicated, he directly regarded the current emperor Xia Meng Junlin in the clan mansion. Xia Meng became the emperor, and his brothers and sisters naturally became princesses and princes. The strength of the eldest princess is also very strong. The two have known each other since childhood. She can become a concubine, and she also has the credit of the eldest princess. Therefore, she would leave a part of the transfer of the sacred stone every time. This number is within 100 million, which is impossible to find out. In addition, the eldest princess is managing the treasury, so she also acquiesced to this practice. The Xianyuan family has expanded so quickly because she has sent a lot of sacred stones to the family over the years. This is nothing in Xia Meng Guanyu's memory. If he knew it, Jian Wushuang would have at least 3 to 5 billion. 50 million is too little. After thinking about it, he began to mention the auction house. He learned some treasures from King White, quickly made a list and took it out. Mother, want you go to the auction house? I Ken got this from some channels. After saying that, he handed it over. Xianyuan Anshui looked surprised when he saw it. Looking at the treasures above, she was shocked. Yuanyang Shenshui 10 directions. The reserve price is 5 billion sacred stones. Gulong minions. The reserve price is 1 billion sacred stones. The eternal treasure Haotian hammer. The reserve price of 500 million yuan. The treasures above are all over 100 million, and they were bought by the Fifth Order Emperor, or some Fourth Order Emperors with a strong background, such as Xianyuan Anshui. She probably has a lot of divine stones in her hand, which is more expensive than the average Fifth Order Emperor. Be rich. You wear this list? Xianyuan Anshui looked at Xia Meng Guanyu. Jian Wushuang patted his chest and promised, "Mother, this list must not be passed on. The things on it are absolutely true." After speaking, he took out another list and handed it to Xianyuan Anshui. It records a large number of treasures that enhance the divine body, as well as some of the origins of the 5 elements. The treasures of the divine body are needed at all times. The 5 elements supreme treasure will be used to refine the origin of the beast in the future. If it really can't go back, then he is ready to let the help him refine it. The treasures that assisted the origin, especially the treasures of the ultimate way, did not have the 4 secret realms, and they were all collected by the 4 halls. The treasure of all things that Ji Dao needs is all treasures. It is too complicated, and it will be suspected if Xianyuan and Shui is exchanged rashly. The treasures raised by the divine body are very versatile, and will not arouse suspicion. God body. Xianyuan Anshui glanced at it, nodded and said, "Before he Dao, the divine body really needs tens of thousands of times. Isn't it necessary at the source? Mother, your son is not a waste. I have reached the level of consummation for the original source. Look." He said one source was leaked out. The origin of Xia Meng Guanyu is actually much worse. The current origin is his transformation from the origin of all things. It's not that he didn't dare to ask, but that he was afraid of causing suspicion. The treasures of Hadao need a lot, but they are not suitable. The key point is that he won't be in Daxia for too long. He is still too early to join the Dao. Not 100,000 years ago, he dare not think about the things of harmony. If he fits in a perfect posture, he needs to thoroughly integrate the 9th level of the ultimate Kendo practice with the origin of space. If there is no Ji Dao, this is not too difficult. With his current vision and strength, success can be said to be a certainty. But Ji Dao is too far against the sky, even more against the sky than the original reverse cultivation. Sometimes Jian Wushuang was thinking, maybe Ji Dao is not against the sky, it is the sky itself. The other avenues, whether it is the 2nd grade or the ultimate way, all merge into the origin of space, but the extreme way is to evolve into the origin of space. The Wandao school is also the origin of the evolutionary space, but each of the Wandao Dao is very weak, and it can be compared to the ultimate way after it is integrated. But Ji Dao really evolved into the origin of space. The entire path of the universe is the ultimate path. This is terrible. The path of the universe, contained in the origin of space, is the ultimate path. Together, the path is the ultimate path. This can be regarded as a sublimated version of the powerful. His path of harmony is still very long. At least the ultimate path he will cultivate to consummation, not too early. And Ji Dao has not yet reached the 7th floor, and has been unable to reach the realm of consummation. The Ji Dao is also 9 levels. After breaking through the 7th level, the next 2 levels are difficult, but they are fast. Chapter 53-54. Sent the cheap old lady back to the palace. Xia Meng Guanyu grasped the mustard seeds in her hand. There are more than 200 million sacred stones in it. Tier 4 pinnacles are probably the only ones that exist. But now that I saw those powerful, Jian Wushuang didn't think so. If it is a casual cultivator, there will only be so many 4th-order emperor's possessions. But if you join some sects or big forces, and have a little power, I'm afraid you will get more than so many treasures. For example, Daxia. Several uncles made millions and tens of millions of sacred stones, and their worth could not be only a few hundreds of millions. I am afraid that each is worth several billion. Xianyuan Depan even directly put out 100 million. His worth is probably at the level of hundreds of billions. This still maintains the entire family. The annual expenditure of each family is an astonishing astronomical figure. Just being a doorkeeper, the cost of raising a private army is beyond Jian Wushuang's imagination. Thinking about it this way, he doesn't want a lot. I asked for 50 million sacred stones from my old lady, and asked the other party to help him buy treasures to enhance the sacred body, so that he could save a sum of sacred stones. An increase of 8,000 times to 10,000 times is nothing for his status. But if you want to break through 10,000, the threshold can be expensive. At least hundreds of millions of sacred stones are needed. He is not sure that the cheap old lady will buy it for him. The key is that it is not easy to buy it. It needs to go through the imperial channel, or the top auction house in the imperial city. Those who follow the divine body route are the generations with wealth and wealth. Most of the practitioners are fourth-order emperors, or 10,000 times divine body. Just because of poverty, it is impossible to give so many treasures directly to the emperors in some big forces. They are all after the emperor, depending on the speed of breakthrough. If you step steadily like a fourth-order emperor, your combat power will be very strong. Strong, but also through contributions, in exchange for treasures that break through the divine body. Maybe I don't need it anymore. Jian Wushuang raised his brows, his eyes gleaming. The hair sticking to Xianyuan Ancheng's body went into a secret room in Xianyuan Mansion. After leaving Xianyuan Ancheng, the hair naturally fell on that secret room. Here. Jian Wushuang opened his eyes wide. This is a treasure house. Should be one of them. Jian Wushuang quickly saw the scene inside the secret room. Countless treasures are piled up like a mountain. The value is really invisible, but the few sets of the best innate treasures stored in the corner are at least worth hundreds of millions of sacred stones. The strongest treasures are the eternal treasures of prevention and are of higher value. There are also countless ordinary treasures, as well as manufactured and tested equipment, all of the innate treasure level, about tens of thousands of sets. There are more than 1 billion piles of sacred stones alone. According to what he overheard, this should be only part of it. Eggs cannot be placed in a basket. Xianyuan Depan would not know this simple truth. The hair he turned into did not dare to move. The formation in this secret room was very strong. At least the fifth-order emperor couldn't break it. This is already a sixth-order monarch-level formation. If he dares to move, I am afraid Xianyuan Anqing will find him the first time. Now he is trapped here. Fortunately, this clone is here. He doesn't have many treasures, just a set of innate best treasures, of little value. But the combat power it exerts is enough to kill the third-order emperor. What he has to do now is how to take these treasures and leave here. In this formation, there is a ray of light passing through within an inch. If it encounters the light, his clone will fall instantly. Can't be careless. Looking at the layout of this secret room, and these treasures, it should be responsible for the expenses of the mansion. Many of the treasures in it are not corresponding to the emperor. A large number of low-level treasures are needed by immortals and Dayan, and should be opened from time to time. These treasures, if you take too many at a time, they are easy to find. There are also sacred stones, they are all in quantity. The only thing he can take away is the mustard seed. The mustard seeds Xianyuan Anqing obtained from Xianyuan Depan contain billions of sacred stones. The combined value of all the treasures here is only 1 billion. Can that mustard seed? Everything here is nothing. But he was away from the mustard seed in the brocade box, separated by dozens of rays of light. When entered the secret room, the formation was closed, and he was lucky. When the formation was opened, this filament happened to escape the light. If you are unlucky, I'm afraid it will fall on the spot. Change. The strand of hair instantly changed into a dust, floating on the ground half an inch high. Wait. Wait for someone to come. The formation will definitely be closed when the person comes. And he can take the opportunity to go to the Jinha at that time. This is the first step. Outside, the deity is not idle either. The auction is set at the end of the third era of the Xiameng calendar. There are still 100 years away. Heavenly Court. The auction house's name is very domineering, but its strength is even stronger than its name. In the Heavenly Court, not only the auction house, but also the Blood Ninja Hall is responsible for assassination. As long as the price is okay, the sixth-order emperor can assassinate it. This level of strength is the first-class power in the realm. This time the auction in Daxia is a large-scale auction, and the sixth-order emperors will come to participate. Light is the strong man who sits in this auction in the Heavenly Court. It is the sixth-order pinnacle. Otherwise it will not be able to hold the place. According to legend, every epoch of the Heavenly Court will hold an auction inside the Heavenly Court, and every treasure can make the fifth-order emperor go crazy. and the Sixth Order Emperor will be jealous. That and other auctions are the best in the realm, like this large-scale auction. As long as you like a lot of treasures, it will be open once. Some of these treasures are sold by some powerful people, and some are treasures screened from the Palace of Blood Ninja, and put out for auction no matter how precious the treasures are. Heavenly Court will not sell them. Any fees are charged and customer information is protected fairly tightly. This is also the reason why the Heavenly Court is so powerful. There are many Sixth Order Emperors in the Heavenly Court alone, and most of the emperors in the sanctuary will be named in the Heavenly Court. This kind of behemoth is no weaker than K's organization. Although there are many strong people among the Keymen, most of them dare not show up. Heavenly Court is an existence that can dare to contend with the temple. Once in the Forest of 10,000 Treasures, there was a heavenly figure, and several Sixth Order peak emperors took action, and the shameless face of the temple was finally calmed down by the real spirit. Jian Wushuang was also curious about the Heavenly Court. He once asked King Bai to inquire, but there has been no news about the inside of the Heavenly Court. Also gave up. 100 years is not long, and short is not short. 10 years in a hurry. Jian Wushuang was on the way to borrow money besides selling Xia Meng Guanyu's family property. The entire imperial city up and down borrowed almost 100 million sacred stones. In order to conceal people's attention, he began to solicit the Emperor of Sanxiu and made a high price. https://mobile version reading URL. Chapter 53-55. The Fourth Order Emperor followed him in the battle for thousands of years, with 20 million sacred stones. The Third Order Emperor followed him in the battle for thousands of years, with 2 million sacred stones. The Second Order Emperor, 200,000 sacred stones. Daojun has won 10,000 sacred stone. These days, he has really recruited a lot of people. Daojun already has 3,000 people. In addition to recruiting Shiwa's sacred stone, plus the unified treasure, the 3,000 Taoist alone cost him 70 to 80 million sacred stones. Second-tier Emperor recruited 100, plus the treasure only spent 50 million. The Third Order Emperor only received a few. The Fourth Order Emperor, unexpectedly, received 2 of them. Almost, Jian Wushuang mentally calculated. After placing these strong men in the barracks outside the imperial city, he began to prepare the formation. He needs tens of thousands of people. The largest formation pavilion in the imperial city is in the palace. This day heavy rain. Jian Wushuang took a ride on Fei Hu and came to the Qianyang Gate of the imperial palace. His Royal Highness 9, the emperor and strongman who guards the door, is very enthusiastic. Jian Wushuang nodded indifferently and walked down from Fei Hu. You are waiting here, I will go in alone. Yes. The guard leader stood in the rain, respectfully taking his orders, and led a group of people into the next attic, where there is a waiting court specially prepared for these guards. Boom! Just stepping into the palace, Jian Wushuang had a strong premonition, and he had a pair of eyes just glanced at him. This look shocked him, but that feeling quickly disappeared, and his mood calmed down a bit. The owner of those eyes is deep in the palace. Ah! Jian Wushuang let out a sigh. Xia Meng Guanyu also had the impression of those eyes in his memory, but it was something that happened to him when he was a child, and he didn't pay attention to it when he got used to it. A super dynasty really extraordinary. In the primitive universe, the strongest dynasty is almost like that of Ji Chaoyang's family. The strongest is only the Fourth Order Emperor. Although the strength is much stronger than the 4 secret realms, in the 4 secret realms, the highest is only can be regarded as a medium power. Superpower. All that is needed are the Sixth Order Emperor. Without the Sixth Order Emperor, it would not be considered a superpower. And the pinnacle power needs several Sixth Order Emperors, and there must be that kind of supreme powerhouse. The peak combat power of the White King, 68,000 times the divine body, the ultimate combat power. First cut the Wu's Dharma body, and then break by ease treasure. Very powerful. Thinking of that kind of combat power, Jian Wushuang was a little weak. There should be no such strong in Daxia. Daxia's ancestors have been in the ancestral temple, not in the imperial palace. Otherwise he would not dare to come. Although his disguise is perfect, he is still afraid of being targeted by the Sixth-Order Emperor. The owner of those eyes should not be the Sixth-Order Emperor, Jian Wushuang thought in his heart. The White King hiding in his body, but he heard a low voice. Weird, there is something strange in the depths of the palace, be careful. Strange? Jian Wushuang heard this, his heart sank. He wanted to quit right now. The White King knew his temperament, and then said, Don't worry your disguise, even the original divine body has completely changed. It is not so easy for the Sixth-Order Emperor to find out. These words are a reassurance for Jian Wushuang. Indeed, his disguise can be said to be the first in his class. Super Grade 10 refining the physical body. Even the original divine body has been tempered. Not only the physical body is immortal, the divine body and the origin are immortal. Of course it does not rule out being killed by the strong. Slightly adjusted his breath, Jian Wushuang disguised Xia Meng Guanyu's character and walked into the harem. He is a 9 prince. Even if he has a special background, it is not easy to meet that emperor. They came to the palace many times, always to see the cheap old lady. As soon as he arrived in the harem, his father-in-law came to pick him up and led him into the courtyard, where the water lived in Zuanyuanan. The mother and son talked for a long time, and finally Jian Wushuang intentionally or unconsciously brought up the plan about the big formation. It's just that he forgot to think about it. Most mothers wouldn't let their sons fight on the battlefield. Originally thought Jian Wushuang was just going to the battlefield, mixing up some military exploits, and giving himself gold. She did not expect that her silly son would actually come true, forming a battle formation and fighting with the emperor. This is a bit too much. Even the prince wouldn't fight like that. After discovering that the momentum was not right, Jian Wushuang coaxed and deceived him, and at least he got in the way. He was afraid that Xianyuan and Shui would not only not give him the formation to prevent him from forming a battle formation, but he would not even buy him the treasure for improving his divine body. That would be too bad. You have to remember that mother is just a son like you. It is Xia Meng's affairs when you go to the battlefield, but here, you are my son. Snapped. Jian Wushuang knelt directly on the ground, bowing his head respectfully. My child, remember the words of the mother. Xianyuan Anshua's eyes flashed with tears. After finishing all this, he got up and talked for another hour, drank a pot of tea with Zuanyuan's water symbolically, ate some flowers and fruits, and then quit. Out of the harem, not far from the residence of Prince Donggong. Looking at the leading eunuch, Jian Wushuang flipped his hand and took out 1,000 sacred stones from the mustard seeds and handed them over. Excuse me. The wearing a blue pattern immediately bowed and said, It's not annoying. It's a blessing for a servant to do things for His Royal Highness 9. Jian Wushuang was calm on the surface, but sneered at the bottom of his heart. An immortal do something bad, come to the palace to be a eunuch. For this kind of person who doesn't cherish the avenues in his body, Jian Wu has no good face in both directions, but in the palace he can't show it. In the palace, there are several great eunuchs who are capable of reaching the sky, and they are the right arm of the emperor. If he shows his true feelings to these eunuchs, I am afraid that he will not be as fruitful as he is. Met the prince and 2 acquaintances around him. Infinite Buddha, Huiqing. This time, without waiting for the prince to speak first, he said in advance, I have seen the prince, the national teacher. Chapter 53-56. Seeing Xia Meng Guanyu's departure, Jiang Shang, who was hiding behind Huiqing, poked out her head. She has grown up a lot in the past few years, and she has become an eccentric girl. What's wrong? Huiqing looked down at Jiang Shang and found a trace of fear in her eyes. Jiang Shang shook his head. His eyes were ruddy and sad. I just felt the breath of brother on that highness. When said these words, Huiqing's expression changed. The sacrifice more than 10 years ago returned to his mind again. Immeasurable Buddha is okay, nothing about it. When the prince heard this, he knew what happened to Jiang Shang, and knew that Huiqing was jealous and hateful. Yin and Yang said strangely, My 9th brother, I did go through detours before, but I returned to the imperial city after the trial ended more than 10 years ago. A lot has changed. I hope he can follow the right path. Goodness. Huiqing folded her hands together. Jian Wushuang didn't know this at all. After leaving the palace, he took someone back to the palace. Emperor-level formation is very rare. Now Xianyuan Anshui doesn't help him. He can only rely on himself. An emperor-level formation, the price is between hundreds of millions of sacred stones. He only has less than 200 million sacred stones on his body now, and he has to fill people up, which is obviously a bit tight. At this time, King White slowly said, Jian Wushuang, I just asked the people in the Heavenly Court auction house. There are 3 or 4 emperor-level formations, and the only Luohui battle formation that requires a low price has a reserve price of 300 million sacred stones. Luohuijian. Jian Wushuang shook his head. It's not that he didn't want to buy an emperor-level battle formation in the past. Not to mention whether he has the money to auction it. He said that the weakest one requires hundreds of emperors. He didn't have enough money. Now all the emperors are added together, but there are only 50. Is still 100. And the weakened version of the monarch-level formation requires 10,000 Dao monarchs. Luohu battle formation, the core needs at least 9 fourth-order emperors, 36 third-order emperors, and 72 second-order emperors. Tier 2 and Tier 3 are good for recruiting, and monarch of Tier 4. The 2 who have just recruited now are too far behind. Just when he was worried, the 2 clones sent good news one after another. The promised divine body merged successfully. The clone in Jianqi's home was summoned by him. In the future, the breakthrough of the divine body is much easier than before. It is a big receipt. If you calculate it carefully, from 8,000 times the divine body to 20,000 times the divine body, the treasures he saved will be enough for a big yen to break through 10,000 times the divine body up. This is a big gain. After fusing the promised divine body, there was no need to keep the promised ice corpse. In the scorching eyes of King Bai, Jian Wushuang hung the corpse on the Heavenly Court auction house. This time he didn't disguise his identity, but entered the Heavenly Court auction house with a high profile. According to the judgment of the Heavenly Court powerhouse, this promised ice corpse has a reserve price of 500 million sacred stones, exceeding Jian Wushuang's expectations. I thought it would sell for 300 million at most, but I didn't expect that the price would be 500 million. In his body, King White felt sorry for a while. What a pity! What a pity! As long as your origin is restored, Lord God will prepare the best divine body and flesh for you. As the said at the beginning, only he can refine the origin for King White. The remaining divine body and flesh are for the gods. It's just a drop in the bucket. Don't look at it 68,000 times. The gods have lived for hundreds of millions of years. How can they care about this? Don't forget, after the White King recovered, the source was beyond the 4 secret realms, and he had a complete source. This value is too great. Although Jian Wushuang didn't know what cooperation between King Bai, and that was, the other party valued the complete source, and he did not hesitate to fall from the top to the end. After processing the Wuji ice corpse, Jian Wushuang's deity retreats directly in the palace, saying that it is a retreat, but it does not allow outsiders to disturb. Because of that, clone in Xianyuan Mansion has made a big breakthrough. As he expected, that treasure house would open from time to time. The person here is not Xianyuan Anqing, but Zuanyuan's elder, a third-order emperor. Although the strength is not strong, but the seniority is very high, responsible for the growth of the younger generation of the family. So he often opens the treasure house and takes some treasures. Jian Wushuang waited for a long time this day, but fortunately he was very patient. Kill him. Jian Wushuang's killing intent gradually rose. If he kills the opponent, and then pretends to be the opponent, he can take away the treasures here. But he was afraid that this formation would detect his hands. The formation of the 6th-order emperor, he did not dare to take risks. Seeking wealth in danger, but it's not the way to seek it, it's dying. Do not. This is sending money. If he honestly only took the sacred stone, he was quite sure to take away the massive sacred stone. If he does it, he can only be sure of 10%. Forget it. Jian Wushuang, who turned into dust, floated towards the brocade box at the moment the secret room door opened. The elder didn't stay here long, and after selecting some common treasures and treasures for immortality, he hurriedly left. The moment he closed the door, Jian Wushuang instantly turned into a dexterous little hand, opened the jade box directly, and took away the mustard seeds. This process was completed in an instant. After harvesting the mustard seeds, he did not turn into dust, but turned into a sacred stone, neatly stacked on the sacred stone mountain. Seemingly perfect hands-on, but the outside world is shaking. Xianyuan Depan broke through the door directly from the house. His figure was like lightning, and he reached the treasure house in an instant. The formation within the family, only he and his eldest son Xianyuan Anqing have a formation. Once the formation changes slightly, it can be discovered. Just now, he clearly felt that the treasure house in the family had changed. Although it was slight, he had to check it. Losing money is small, but losing money under his nose, that is a big deal. This time I lost the treasure, then the next time I lost my head. After the boss Xianyuan Anqing felt it, he also vacated and appeared in front of Xianyuan Depan. It was Elder Dajiang who opened the treasure house, and the moment he went out changed. Xianyuan Anqing immediately told his father Xianyuan Depan the information he had received. Xianyuan Depan with cold eyes, his eyes flickering, and his voice said in a low voice, "Go and see." He wanted to see who was so capable and able to get into their treasure house. That faint change was definitely someone in it. No matter how careful he was, he would be able to spot it. Also, give me a thorough investigation of Xianyuan Dajiang. Don't leave a trace of affection, and check it out from the top. Xianyuan Depan's voice revealed anger. Xianyuan Anqing, who was next to him, wanted to say something nice, but he was also gagged. This matter touched Xianyuan Depan's and Ailin. In just a moment, several fourth-order emperors in the clan appeared one after another. The second and third elders went to train outside the city, and the fourth retreats. Now only the elder Xianyuan Anqing is with his father, and the other fourth-order emperors are all ancestors. https://mobile version reading URL. Chapter 53-57. Although as an ancestor, the rules are the rules. Patriarch, don't talk about this, so as not to tarnish the reputation of the Xianyuan family. Several ancestors thought. Xianyuan Depan stood at the door of the treasure house with a black face, turned his head to look at his elder son Xianyuan Anqing, and said angrily, "How do you think of this house?" Xianyuan Anqing, who was standing on the side, lowered his head and dared not refute a word. Xianyuan Depan is the pillar of the family. He said that he was the patriarch, but who would dare to let Xianyuan Depan manage trivial matters? Xianyuan and City would take care of the normal family operations. Now that there is a problem, it is natural to ask him to settle the account. Open the door. Xianyuan Depan snorted coldly. Xianyuan Anqing hurried forward and opened the door of the secret room. At the moment the door opened, Xianyuan Depan shot it out with a palm, and the endless destructive power radiated black brilliance, and instantly swept the entire secret room. This secret room is suppressed by formations. Although Xianyuan Depan is a fifth-order emperor, he can't damage the secret room with a single blow, but the treasures inside can suffer. The innate supreme treasures are all damaged. The superimposed sacred stone mountain was melted instantly. All that are left now are some rare and exotic fruits. These treasures are stored in special equipment, and the blow just did not destroy those equipment. But even so, Xianyuan Depan's palm would destroy more than 1 billion property. To him 1 billion is nothing. Firefox Palace has hundreds of millions of revenue in a year. He can divide it into 30%, and it will be 3 billion in a century. The thief who dared to come in was a big deal. It would not be a shame if he didn't catch the opponent, or killed the opponent. Facing Xianyuan Depan's anger, Jian Wushuang inside was also taken aback. That terrifying power just now, in such a small space, if it weren't for the super-grade flesh body of Tin Lian, he would have died 100 times earlier. His physical body just melted at least 10 times, and finally condensed again. But the divine body in his body was almost completely consumed. now turned into a particle of dust, drifting towards the outside world. The dust is accompanied by a strong breath in the thick smoke, which cannot be noticed by outsiders. Xianyuan Anqing and several ancestors hurriedly entered the secret room, but they searched and found nothing. In such a huge breath, they couldn't even sense the breath of each other, let alone find the hidden person. Maybe it has fallen. Someone wondered. Xianyuan Anqing was careful. After a round of investigation, his eyes shrank to a single point, and his voice was low and he said, "Either the other party ran away, or he is still here." Still here. Xianyuan Anqing's words made several Tier 4 emperors look like enemies. Run. How could it be possible to run away? If you can escape the 6th order big formation, you will still care about this treasure. If the opponent just opened the door and ran away, it is impossible. But there is a 5th order emperor blocking the way outside, and even the 4th order emperor should have been seriously injured with just one blow. Could it be that it's really still here? No matter what, this is not suitable for long stay. Father, I didn't find anything. Zuanyuan's face was like ashes. Xianyuan Depan put away his aura. Knowing that today is a stumbling block, his tone returned to plain and said, "I gave you the mustard seed that stored the stone last time. Did you put it here?" "Yes." Xianyuan Anqing's eyes shrank again, and suddenly thought of something. He bowed immediately. Xianyuan Depan waved his hand and said weakly, "Go. Be careful later." How shrewd the ancestors were, they also came to understand. Seems to have been spotted by someone last time when he met the youngest third. Now it doesn't matter whether people run or not, because they have already identified who this person is. Xia Meng. The last name was guessed right, but unfortunately they never thought that it was Xia Meng Guanyu himself. The dust fluttered, was finally contaminated with a Yin Xian who went out. When the opponent headed to a prosperous street, Jian Wushuang took the opportunity to reach the other person again, and changed several times in this way, and finally recovered his face in an empty alley with no one. Outside the alley, Xia Meng Guanyu was standing there waiting. After getting the mustard seeds, the clone naturally dissipated. The sacred body is exhausted, the source is also broken, and there is only one body left, and the innate supreme treasures it carries have melted. After getting the mustard seeds, Jian Wushuang was relieved. This mustard seed is very ordinary, he has checked it a long time ago. Otherwise he wouldn't be so bold. After putting the sacred stone into his mustard seeds, he crushed the mustard seeds. Holding the board on his thumb, Jian Wushuang leaked a smile. A full 8 billion sacred stones. He has never seen so many sacred stones. But it does not mean that his worth is small. Light is an accessory of the candle dragon, each of which is worth more than 8 billion. When Qiu Huangqing exchanged candle dragon wings, it was simply given to him for nothing, especially the eternal treasure of prevention. Only now did he understand that the imitation eternal treasures are also divided into levels. The original, 8 Feng Yunlong seal, was an imitation of the highest quality, placed in the outside world worth hundreds of millions of sacred stones. But at first it was only 1 million treasures. Is not so much worse than other treasures. Fortunately, he exchanged that candle dragon wing at the beginning. Now in the 4 great secret realms, a candle dragon wing, I am afraid that it alone can enhance the power of the origin of the space, and it can also improve the perception of the space. It is estimated that no one will sell. The source is the weakest of the monks in the 4 secret realms. All treasures that enhance the source are very expensive. The original treasure he wants to buy this time is that it encompasses all things and the 5 elements, which is very complicated. To put it simply, it is big and small, and it costs a lot. Originally bought those treasures, but just tried it. Now that I have these 8 billion sacred stones, I can try to smash them with treasures. The power of devouring, don't you want to swallow it? This time I swallowed enough. Specializes in buying the origin of the emperor, especially the origin of space, by a billions of swallows, and see how much the Jidao can swallow. I am afraid that among all Taoists, he is so rich and powerful. After returning to the palace, began to increase efforts to recruit door customers. even hesitate to spend a lot of money to select some emperors from the sky prison, as long as they follow him for thousands of years to avoid prison. Although they didn't spend much for these emperors, they just got them a set of supreme treasures. But they also spent more than 100 million stones. Fortunately, the second-order emperor and the third-order emperor are enough. Is now the fourth-order emperor, 10,000 Dao monarchs, 72 second-tier emperors, and 36 third-tier emperors are all full. The fourth-order emperor is still 2 people. Outside the imperial city, the Northern Army barracks is in a small military camp belonging to Jian Wushuang. Your Highness, the 7 people are now in Lishan County. As long as Your Highness pays a minimum price, they will be there soon. Jian Wushuang leaked his thoughts. Among the fourth-order emperors he recruited, one was a casual cultivator who was in chaos, and he knew a lot of people. So he asked him to look for some casual fourth-order emperors outside. https://mobile version reading URL. Chapter 53-58. Did not expect that he would really find him. And it was 7 at once. And he was just 7 short of him. But these 7 people are asking too much. 1 person is 50 million. 7 people is 350 million. It's not that he has no money, but he is afraid that too much leakage will make people suspicious. Your Majesty, don't worry. Seeing Xia Mangguanyu never answered, the fourth-order emperor of Genie asked in confusion. Jian Wushuang waved his hand and said, "No, it's just that the price is too high. I'm just a prince. If you really want to take out so many sacred stones, it will cause a lot of trouble. Your Majesty, don't worry, I understand this. I will keep it secret, and I won't let them divulge any news." Seeing the other parties pledge, Jian Wushuang took out a mustard seed directly, patted it on the table and said, "Here is 50 million sacred stones. You send it now. It represents my sincerity. When they come, I will give another 100 million. I will pay off the remaining sacred stones." "No problem." Genie Dijuan leaked a smile. Jian Wushuang's eyes flashed with killing intent. This time he was regarded as a fat sheep. "Sit on the floor and start. 350 million. If you really dare to ask for it, let's see if they have the lifeblood." The strength of these casual cultivators is average, but the asking price is outrageous. Night. The 7 fourth-order emperors arrived at the barracks. After Xia Mangguanyu gave a treat and left 100 million sacred stones, he hurriedly left. A secret order came from the palace. Just today, Daxia has officially declared war on the Maluo kingdom. On the day of the declaration of war, the General Gutong brought 1 million troops to level a city in the Maluo kingdom, the frontier of the empire, for battlefield cities. 3 of the cities are held by 3 generals, and 1 is the first marshal of the empire. Only Gutong is the only one in position now. Today, the emperor summoned the prince and some government officials, probably for this. When I entered Kainyangmen, there was already busy traffic here. Here, Jian Wushuang also saw the powerful second prince. Xiameng Guanhou. Jian Wushuang knows this person's face. He is a fat man, and he has a one-sided understanding of him in his memory. Now I see myself and look at the aura of the other person, which is very unusual. The 2 guards around him were all fourth-order emperors, and such a brazen battle was actually even more exaggerated than the prince. There is also a fourth-order emperor beside the prince. The fourth-order emperors around them are all characters willing to give them their lives. Jian Wushuang is almost a little bit meaningless here. It's completely spent. And the prince and the second prince still have military power in their hands. That Xiameng Guanhou is already the fourth-order emperor, and there is some kind of strange power in his body, and his strength is not weaker than the fourth-order peak. The White King's voice appeared in his mind. Jian Wushuang's heart moved. Tier 4 peak. This is much stronger than the prince. At least he should not use all his strength to kill the prince. But the second prince, he is not an opponent. This is so strong. I am afraid that if he is on the battlefield, he will correspond to Prince Maluo. Daxia's prince will be a laughingstock. No wonder the prince would strongly oppose the conquest at the beginning. It turns out that there is still this relationship. Seeing the other party from a distance, Xiameng Guanyu's complexion moved. revealing a smile and enthusiastically said, "Second brother, wait for me." The chubby second prince heard Jian Wushuang shout, and the game unexpectedly turned his head and smiled. 9 brothers. The two went into the depths of the palace together, and the guards naturally stayed outside. Jingyang Palace, inside the conference hall. Jian Wushuang is also the first time to see that emperor. Xiamen Meteorite. This character, who is comparable to the ancestors in the Xiameng clan, is really extraordinary. Jian Wushuang saw the shadow of Elder 9 swords from the opponent. After everyone sat in their seats, Jian Wushuang dared to look carefully. The hall was almost full of people now, and there were dozens of 5th-order emperors, let alone 4th-order emperors. The other 2 of the 3 generals have also arrived, both of which are Tier 5 peak combat power, similar to Xianyuan Dapan. Of course, Xianyuan Dapan also arrived, and several sons also came. Finally, an hour later, after the Daxia commander Xiameng Falling War took his seat, they were all together. Jian Wushuang not only secretly looked at that Xiameng meteor battle, but the opponent was not only in charge of Daxia's army of monks, but also the brother of the current emperor. Both brothers are the 5th-order peak emperors. It's just that Xiameng became famous much earlier than the current emperor. Wow! Everyone was there. Everyone got up. No matter who it was, they all bowed to see you. "See, your majesty." Xiameng Meteorite sat on the throne, pressed his hand. His eyes were extremely majestic. Next to the throne, there are a few chairs, and above are a few old eunuchs. There were still 2 people standing on the left and right sides of Xiameng Meteor. Everyone bowed to see him, but these 2 people remained motionless. One is the national teacher Infinite Buddha, another dressed in a red robe embroidered with wild patterns, with white hair and a scary face. After Jian Wushuang straightened up, he just glanced at it, and felt uneasy in his heart. In this hall, this person is probably the strongest. Jian Wushuang didn't even dare to take the initiative to ask King Bai, for fear that the other party would see his disguise. "Don't worry, that red robe is tier 6, but it is flawed and has ordinary strength. It is much weaker than the fire I killed at the beginning. I can kill him by blowing my breath at the peak," King Bai said, very casual, taking the 6th-order emperor as a breath. Jian Wushuang secretly said, "Old guy, if you can blow him to death now, should I be scared? Don't you believe it?" King Bai squeezed his fist and said coldly, "Wait for me to regain my strength. See how I slaughtered this great summer." Really restored strength, it is naturally not difficult to slaughter Daxia. With the supreme strength of the White King, let alone the ancient kingdom of Daxia, there is no opponent in the entire Tiannan. It is just a question of when the strength can be restored. This time I was able to train the source to achieve a good result. The gods gave the divine body and the flesh, and he had to use the power of all things to fuse the White King. The process was not fixed for 10,000 years. Shut up. Thinking of those annoying things, Jian Wushuang's head grew big, and he didn't want to listen to where King Bai was bragging. Xiameng Meteor slowly got up, looked at everyone, with a voice like Hong Zhong, and said majestically, "The magical way is rampant. It is enough that there is a chaotic region in the south of the sky. My Daxia Northern Xinjiang cannot become the second chaotic region again. Everyone listen carefully. I am calling you to come today, just for the expedition. Let's talk about your ideas." After Xiameng Meteorite said this, he took the national teacher and the red-robed and left the hall. He is the decision-maker, not the conspirator. After the people in the hall discuss a countermeasure, he can come to make a decision again. The emperor acts, but so. If you lose, you kill the conspirators. And if you win, it is the credit of the decision-maker. Are smart people who can't see through. https://mobile version reading URL. Chapter 53-59. So you have to be careful when you make a plan. This time you set out for the Maluo kingdom. Maybe you started planning 10,000 years ago. Someone has been well prepared for it. Now it's fine to tell the plan. The 5th-order emperors on the upper throne are too lazy to speak. They are all 4th-order emperors as representatives. There are not many strong people in the Xiameng clan, and there are not many who are qualified to speak. It is mainly discussed by some powerful officials. This discussion lasted for 3 days, and after screening, 2 proposals were finally made. One is a proposal put forward by the second prince, and it is presented by the government office. The other is a first-ranked member of the current dynasty. He is the pinnacle of Tier 5 in strength. There are countless followers in power in the ruling and opposition. What the prince was watching was the cold light in his eyes. A prince has actually come to interfere with the foreign expedition, and he is really not a little imposing as the prince. Fortunately, he now advocates not to fight. Otherwise his face would not be able to hold his face. The current situation, it is very likely that the strategy of the second prince will be adopted. And sitting in the chair of the sent the 2 strategies to the side hall, waiting for Xiaomeng Meteor's decision. The hall fell into calm for a while. Jian Wushuang didn't have any interest in all of this. He knew that the prince would definitely stop him after a while. The affairs of the emperor's house are actually the same. There is nothing to scrutinize. The people sitting here are old foxes who have lived for countless years. The main purpose of this campaign is to weaken the power of the imperial officials. If it is really won, the officials will become more rampant, but Daxia will become stronger because of this, and it will be cut again. As long as the ancestors are there, Daxia will not be chaotic, but it's not easy to manage. If you lose, it doesn't matter. It's paving the way for the prince. Don't look at the arrogance of the second prince now. If he really loses, he will be a dog in the water by then. Everyone shouting and beating. On the contrary, the prince gained benevolence and righteousness, and he would better control these officials. This is like raising goo. But everything is about strength. These struggles are not only about power, but also about resources. With resources, they will become stronger and stronger. This is why the fairy dynasty still uses the methods of the ordinary dynasty. After a while the words came out. The Xiaomeng clan left a family dinner, and the rest could leave. The expressions of those officials remained unchanged, but they were cursing secretly in their hearts. Family world is like this. All decisions have nothing to do with outsiders like them. There are many strong Xiaomengs in the hall, and those with high seniority are generally not in the ruling and opposition parties, and they follow the ancestors in the ancestral temple. Nowadays, there are some younger and stronger people who are in the ruling and the opposition. Among them, there are 4 fifth-order emperors, and dozens of 4th-order emperors. Almost all of them are emperors except Jian Wushuang. Followed these people into the side hall. A long table was already prepared, and the exotic flowers and fruits on the top were of great value. Everyone was seated. Jian Wushuang sat at the end, and Xiaomeng Yizhan and the 5th-order emperor sitting in the Colosseum were next to the main seat. After a while, Xiaomeng Meteorite came over with 2 jade slips, and left the jade slips on the table casually, and said in a gentle tone, "Second, depending on what you mean, you are going to fight Emolua with your family? Father, this battle is a battle to set the foundation. It must be a national battle, a battle that is rare in countless epics." The second prince Xiaomeng Guanhou stood up, his voice open. Seeing that the time had come, the prince stood up and objected. "This is not necessarily true. How many times have we fought in the national warfare of the second brother? The price that needs to be paid. And there is no budget. How can I fight Emoluo?" "Well, it makes sense. What do you think of the second child?" Xiaomeng Meteorite sat in the main seat, and looked at the second prince again. The second prince knew that this battle must be fought, and now it is for him to give a decent reason, and to be able to let him say it. It proves that the father gave him a chance to compete fairly. At this time he didn't dare to panic, thought for a moment and said in a calm tone, "Budget? The battle of the tripod is fought with a certain amount of temperament. I have kept a low profile for hundreds of millions of years. How many years has it risen? It used to be just a small one, little demon sect, but it has expanded too fast over the years. If it is not eradicated now, I am afraid there will be no chance in the future." The second brother said that Xiao was young. "I had an ancestor in the summer, and I would still be afraid of a demon sect, the border of the southern country, and the chaos. We will not guard it for hundreds of millions of years. What should I do if the region raided the southern border? The prince said plausibly. He was obviously well prepared. Jian Wushuang sat at the end, eating and drinking without even looking at them. I don't know when. Xiaomeng Meteorite noticed the younger son Xiaomeng Guanyu, waved his sleeve, interrupted the dispute between the prince and the second prince and asked, Guanyu, what do you think about this expedition? Snap it. Hearing these words suddenly, Jian Wushuang accidentally knocked the wine cup over on the table, and quickly got up and said, All depends on the father. Haha. Xiaomeng Meteorite was very happy when he heard this answer. It seemed to be unexpected. Great. I don't think you are any different from those outside. You can only use small tricks, regardless of the overall situation. If Guanyu, you and your second child should really think about it. Xiaomeng Meteorite glanced at the prince, and his voice was a little cold. Thousands of things count. They won't even know what the emperor is thinking about. It's actually very simple. Strength is respected. There are ancestors. This great summer is here. Avenue to Jane. Xiaomeng Meteorite's thinking is very simple. As Xiaomeng Guanyu said, everything depends on his father. Civil war. That's not what the prince said. It was meant to ask the ancestors. Here, just say a few words. And if you say too much, you'll have something to say how to weaken others like this. Everyone fights. Several uncles, emperor brothers, and the expedition have been decided, and they will be announced to the world later, and the national teacher has also given the date. Each department is ready. The first year of the fourth era in the new calendar is the day of the expedition. Xiaomeng Meteorite's face was a little tired, leaving behind these words. Only the prince who was stunned was left, and the second prince smiled faintly. The rest of the Xiaomen's people were not polite after Xiaomeng Meteorite left, chatting and eating the food and wine on the table. Doesn't look like it should be expedition at all. The prince stood there, feeling like he was being played. Things that no one cares about, he took too much. There are no outsiders here. Why are you so ruthless? Anyway, when the time comes, it's my own people to help him spread it out. Just say a few words. I have to be serious. Jian Wushuang was also amused by the prince. This man was supposed to be the prince all his life. When he became the emperor, he would have lost his country. After some raids, Jian Wushuang bid farewell to the elders on the table and left. The following days will be turbulent, but all of this has nothing to do with him. https://mobile version reading URL. Chapter 5360. 2 Strategies. The final choice was the opinion of the first grade member. The national war was proposed by the second prince of the Guogongfu. This is too radical and not suitable. You don't need to ask your ancestors. Xiaomeng Meteor rejected it. As the prince said, if the national war is deadlocked, what will happen to the sudden attack of the chaotic land of the south? Although the strength of the Maluo kingdom is strong, it is strong on the surface, and its background is much worse. It does not need a national war, and it can defeat the opponent. Only 4 cities are needed, a steady attack, and a slow cannibalization is enough to involve the Maluo kingdom. But even so, the expenses of this battle are so scary that the sixth-order emperors can't afford it, and only the ancient country like Daxia can have this courage. Arms rectification and resource scheduling, these all take several years and cannot be completed overnight. Jian Wushuang's 10,000-strong army is inconspicuous in the Northern Army barracks, has been in the military camp for decades, constantly cooperating with these people, although there is no Luohu battle formation yet. But you have to prepare, otherwise there will be no time to practice. The 7 fourth-order emperors newly recruited, known as the 7 monsters of Meishan, although their strength is average, they know quite a lot. One of the young women of the Fem tribe, very slaughter, and naturally charming, has had a weekend with many emperors in the barracks, making Jian Wushuang a headache. At the end of the 3rd era of the new calendar, 10 years before the expedition, the auction was held as scheduled, and the venue was in the Yinglu of Dongcheng. This day can be said to be the arrival of 10,000 immortals. The 5th-order emperors that are rarely seen are one after the other, and the 4th-order emperors are not conspicuous. The prince like Xiamang Guanyu is even less conspicuous. Look, the emperor of Daxia. Many strong men followed the voice and looked. Great Xia Emperor Xiamang Meteorite, dressed in a black dragon robe, came with Xianyuan on Shui. In the heavenly court, the Fifth Order Emperor personally greeted him and sent the great Xia Emperor into the Yinglu with the Sixth Order Emperor's specifications. After a little pause, Jian Wushuang also walked in, because the Wuji Ice Corpse was sold here, and there was no need to verify the assets. He went straight to the VIP channel. In these days alone, he has spent more than 300 million sacred stones on his face. The heavens take care of everything, and news is also a major feature. How many sacred stones are on the body of the 9 princes? 8 billion sacred stones. Jian Wushuang carried the treasure and entered the Yinglu. This Yinglu, in fact, is an eternal treasure in itself, a treasure of the heavens, into which it becomes a world of its own. Usually casual repairs can only sit on the throne in the hall, while VIPs have separate rooms. And the treasures Jian Wushuang sold here are very scarce, and he is already qualified to sit here. You need to know that those who can sit here are either the Fifth Order Emperor or the Fourth Order Emperor with a great opportunity, each of which is worth more than tens of billions. After entering the room, the interior here is somewhat the same as the interior of the Firefox Palace. There are also huge screen windows in front of you. You can clearly see everything in the outside hall, but the outside world can't see what's happening inside. Sat on the white jade-carved throne, Jian Wushuang looked at the hall curiously. Now there are millions of people sitting in the hall. The weakest princes are the Taoists, who should have followed their parents. Among the emperors, the weakest is the third-tier pinnacle. Some people cover their faces and cannot see their faces clearly, while others leak their faces, but most of those who dare to leak out are not true faces. The auction will officially begin soon. A graceful woman with a graceful figure walked onto the auction platform in the middle of the hall. This seemingly beautiful woman with all kinds of amorous feelings is a genuine Sixth Order Emperor, is several grades stronger than the in the palace, and even among the Sixth Order Emperors, he is stronger than the ancestor of Daxia. Already has the level of the Shangqing ancestor. Everyone, come here all the way. On behalf of Heavenly Court, I would like to thank you all for coming, said Perfect Woman bowed slightly. This scene surprised many people in the hall. Sixth Order Emperor actually bowed to them, these Third Order Emperors. This is also the reason why Heavenly Court can become the pinnacle power, not arrogant or impetuous. Okay, now the auction house has officially started. By the way, I forgot to introduce myself. My name is Nalansi. Nalansi, the White King said secretly. Jian Wushuang frowned slightly and said in doubt. Why do you know? I don't know this little girl, but I know the ancestor of the Nalan family. King Bai was very sure. Naran family. This is the first time Jian Wushuang has heard of it, and he curiously asked. You are so sure, she is the Nalan family in your mouth. Hey Longshou, the women of the Nalan family are all the same. How could I not recognize them? Back then, I was the ancestor of their Nalan family. Said this, the White King's face, there are some memories on it. Jian Wushuang shook his head, ignoring the other party, and looked at the hall intently. The first treasure appeared. Rhinoceros wood, unique to Tiannan. Its fragrance can make you dream. The reserve price is 5 million sacred stones. Nalansi dragged the treasure with one hand and glanced down with the other. The sensitivity of the Sixth Order Emperor is terrifying, and every bid price can be clearly confirmed. 6 million, 5 million, 7 million. In the lobby, a white-haired old man, with a hint of playfulness in his eyes, raised the token and whispered, 10 million. 10 million? No need to add it. Many people choose to give up. This treasure is a bit tasteless for the Fourth Order Emperor, and it is too wasteful for the Third Order Emperor. Can pay 10 million, which is a high price. Soon the first treasure was sold, but in just a few breaths. The treasures in this auction are almost over 100,000 pieces, and they can't be sold out every 1.5 years. The dozens of treasures in the front are all within tens of millions, but gradually increase in the back, and the reserve prices are all over tens of millions. The blue fire world stone can bring up the origin of the fire space in it, and the reserve price is 15 million. A treasure about the origin of space. Jian Wushuang suddenly raised his interest. This time he not only needs the treasures of all things to improve the Jidao, but the origin of space should also be improved, to pave the way for the future. The origin of space, but related to his current strongest realm, the universe. The stronger the space, the stronger the universe. In the universe of one mind, he has repeatedly jumped the ranks, relying on suppressing opponents in it, and enhancing his own combat power. Even after integrating the swallowing power, he found that when suppressing the opponent, he would swallow the opponent's lost combat power into himself, making it stronger than ever. This is the strongest trump card. As soon as I think of the universe, his combat power has increased more than tenfold. Is much stronger than the treasure. 20 million. There is no token in the VIP room, but there is a jade slip on the armrest of the throne, and his offer will be displayed by just tapping it. Directly added 5 million. https:// mobile version reading URL. Chapter 5361. The sound of still came from the VIP room upstairs, and the people below immediately lost their confidence. But among the millions of people, there are still a lot of people who are worth a lot of money, and soon some people continue to make quotations. Jian Wushuang still directly increases the price by 5 million. This kind of suffocating quotation, no one dared to follow soon. Finally won the blue fire world stone, at a price of 40 million. Someone delivered the treasure in a while. Jian Wushuang held it in his hand, played with it for a while. The flame in his hand rose, very magical. The origin of this blue fire world stone is somewhat similar to the space where he used to be in the blue fire world. But the blue fire world stone, that is about an inch long, is countless times larger than the entire blue fire world. Is already comparable to an emperor in the origin space of the fourth order fire. It's not too bad to buy it for 40 million. Although it is relatively rare, it is still sold by the outside world. 35 million is considered the highest price. He paid 40 million, which is nothing but a prize. You can't just let go of the first treasure. He must be cruel. The first 20 treasures will soon be auctioned off. Are all treasures about the origin, which is a type? Is just a treasure about all things in space. Jian Wushuang couldn't look down on many of them, so he didn't make another move. The treasures to be auctioned next are godlike treasures. The strong in the hall. Very few take the route of the body. But the strong people sitting in the VIP room. But most of them have taken the route of the body. The source is too difficult for them. The divine body is simple and crude. But it is a shortcut. But the cost of this shortcut is too expensive. Non-ordinary people can practice. The skeleton of the purple-eyed bull demon king will increase the most from 10,000 times to 13,000 times, with a reserve price of 30 million. Since the fusion of the promised divine body, Jian Wushuang's body has reached 10,000 times, but it is more difficult to improve it, and it requires a lot of treasures to break through. The skeleton of this giant purple-eyed bull demon king is a very good treasure, and it is a bit wasteful to use it at this stage of breakthrough. At the moment he hesitated, the quotation had already exceeded 70 million sacred stones. Too crazy. Said it was 10,000 times to 13,000 times. But in reality, it couldn't add 3,000 times the divine body. Even if Jian Wushuang, the infinite divine body, to maximize the improvement, it would be at most 2,000 times the divine body. 70 million, an increase of 2,000 times, is too exaggerated. In his mind, King Bai, the real power of the divine body genre, said lightly, He 10,000 times is the foundation. You can change the ordinary divine body into the infinite divine body within 10,000 times. There is a layer of luck. But you also have to know that after 10,000 times, impurities will appear in the divine body. The superb material like the purple-eyed bull demon has very few impurities in it, and the surface is often increased by 3,000 times. But after removing the impurities, the real I am afraid that the increase is less than 1,500 times. The stepless divine body is a bit special. but it can increase 2,000 times. It turned out to be like this. Jian Wushuang's favor with heaven is constantly declining. Many treasures are reported too vain. Although he has 8 billion sacred stones, the most important thing now is to improve the Jidao. Buying some treasures about the 5 elements of all things is the key. Divine body breakthrough. With his cheap old lady in the pocket, he doesn't panic at all. The auction continues. In the first stage, there are 20 treasures of all kinds, but some of them can be taken out in many copies, and many of them are shooting continuously, and all of them are taken directly. This made him feel that these people are wealthy. The following is a complete divine body peerless heaven demon art, plus a pot of dragon snake wine that can help break through 20,000 times the divine body. The two are superimposed, and the reserve price is 100 million divine stones. Everyone in the hall took a breath when they heard the reserve price of 100 million. This is too bad. Dragon snake wine is indeed used for 20,000 times the divine body. But this is just one of the ingredients. The price is so high. As for the heavenly demon art, it was originally handed down from the heavens, and it is not too top-notch in Tiannan. At best it can be regarded as superior. Seeing no one raises the fare, Nalansi frowned slightly. Presumably you are not unfamiliar with the heavenly demon art. This unique knowledge has been circulated in Tiannan for a long time, but it is spread in the upper half. At most you can cultivate up to 6-armed heavenly demon body, but the complete heavenly demon art can be cultivated to 12 arms. As soon as Nalance's words fell, everyone was shocked. 12-armed demon? I am afraid that the heavenly demon in ancient times only had 12 arms. How could ordinary monks cultivate to 12 arms? Jian Wushuang also looked down with interest. If you really want to be as powerful as Nalansi said, I'm afraid it won't be so cheap. He remembers that the strongest giant of the heavenly demon gate was the 8-armed heavenly demon, and the time to cast it was very short. Magic Dao giant. Luoyang Daoist is only 6 arms. Really reach the emperor, let alone 12 arms. Even if you cultivate to the 8-armed demon, I am afraid it will be enough to be proud of the crowd. Regarding the matters of the divine body, King White still knows a little more, and he still has a slight relationship with the heavenly demon gate. Cough cough, absolute learning can be regarded as a super grade. It is a good choice for you to cultivate to the extreme and reach 50,000 times the divine body. Your physical body is strong, and the divine body contains promise, which is very suitable. King Bai commented lightly. Jian Wushuang said in amazement, I thought it would be 50,000 times as powerful as it is. Because he is used to hearing that King White brags about his divine body, it is 68,000 times more each time. Basically every time he mentions this number, so that now his requirements for the divine body do not exceed that of King White. So high. It seems that you don't know enough about 68,000 times the divine body. King White's tone was very serious, and then he said, if you think that you can reach 68,000 times the divine body with only treasures, then you are very wrong. The foundation is not deep enough, and the treasures can be used at most. After reaching 30,000 times the divine body, I want to make a breakthrough later, but it depends on my own unique knowledge and the capacity of the divine body. The physical body is only the appearance, and the inner core is the divine power contained in the divine body. Jian Wushuang agreed with this passage and nodded. Indeed, he hasn't practiced a piece of unique knowledge now, so he should really consider it for the future. Otherwise, just relying on the treasure to smash it is not long-term. The magic power of heaven is indeed very suitable for 50,000 times the divine body, and you can change it later if you want to improve it. If you blindly seek the top genius, it will make the foundation unstable. Then take it. Jian Wushuang's heart slammed, and immediately reported 105,000 stones. Since he didn't want to shoot, he added 500,000 yuan and tried the water. In many VIP rooms, the big powers, or some sect elders and family heads are all planning. This devil skill can be regarded as the treasure of the town clan. The complete one is much stronger than the incomplete ones. This is a 50,000-fold divine body route. 300 million. In a VIP room, several fifth-order emperors talked a little, and then decided to take the Heavenly Devil technique. https://mobile version reading URL. Chapter 5362. Hearing this offer, not only Jian Wushuang was dumbfounded, but many strong men in the hall had their eyelids shrunk. It hasn't been long before the price has soared to this point. Will there be any chance for them to make a move in the future? Many Tier 4 pinnacle emperors are worth that little bit, which is incomparable with those sects and families. 300 million? Jian Wushuang also felt that these people were crazy, and he dared not bid for a while. King Bai said at this moment, "Add another 100 million. Those sects are more stingy than casual repairs." 400 million? Who did you hear? I was the ancestor of the Bai family. Hearing these words, Jian Wushuang didn't say anything. He couldn't compare with seniority. After thinking about it, King Bai is right. The family and the sect are not a single person. They are a group, and they will not increase prices arbitrarily. Sure enough, after he bid 400 million, no one increased the price. What Jian Wushuang didn't expect was that this heavenly demon art was just a simplified version. No wonder the reserve price is so low. Dragon snake wine is not only useful for breaking through 20,000 times the divine body, it is also the main improvement material after 20,000 times the divine body. The divine body is roughly divided into 9 layers, the same as the original Tao. Every layer is a 10,000-fold divine body. Now he hasn't even broken through the first layer. The treasures needed on the first floor are the cheapest and the simplest. The total cost will not exceed 100 million. But the second layer is about to double 10 times. The third layer is the peak of the early stage, and the peak of many practitioners in their lifetime. But even so, the cost is tens of billions. No wonder the divine body route. It is said that there is no threshold, but the biggest threshold in itself is a treasure. If you are a child of a big family, you still have family support. But casual cultivating is all on your own. Many third-order emperors have only 7,000 or 8,000 divine bodies, and they have been beaten in a lifetime. Is also like the identity of Xia Meng Guanyu, and his divine body is 8,000 times as high as the Taoist monarch. His chances are not bad, but he is only worth 10,000 now. After receiving the heavenly demon's absolute learning, countless clones emerged in his body, cross-legged on the source pillar, and began to study. With the great power of the White King, the divine body is on the sidelines. He can get twice the result with half the effort, and at most 10,000 years he can be Mahayana. Enlightenment with countless avatars can be 10,000 times shorter. That is, he can reach the level of Taoist Luyang in 1 year, and display the 6-armed demon body. You must know that Xia Meng Guanyu is only a 4-armed demon, and can only be regarded as the Hinayana realm. Even in the Hinayana realm, it can also allow him to increase the divine body to 10,000 times, which is a 2,000-fold increase on the foundation. Waiting for his basic divine body to exceed 10,000 times, and then crazily smashing the treasure, and using the 6-armed demon body. I am afraid that the divine body can go straight to 20,000 times. The next auction is a treasure. Jian Wushuang has no interest in this. Just wait and see the changes. Are mostly synthetic treasures. For example, a necklace, 108 pillars, are made by stars, each of which is the supreme treasure. Under the combination, the power that bursts out is stronger than some preventive eternal treasures. This kind of treasure is very suitable for Tier 4 emperors. But the reserve price is also ridiculously high, and the reserve price of 80 million has persuaded many Tier 4 emperors to retreat. Some of the rest are people with deep backgrounds. The final transaction price was set at 140 million. Is worth it. Okay, now the second stage is on. The average price of the treasures in this stage is about 100 million yuan. You should be ready. The first piece, the feather of King Daming. Fellow Taoists should still remember King Daming, who was once in the south of heaven. This feather was found in the forest of 10,000 treasures, where he was sitting, and the reserve price is 100 million sacred stone. De Ming Wang. Everyone was shocked. Even several 6th-order emperors sitting in the VIP room leaked incredible eyes. The Forest of 10,000 Treasures was considered a treasure in the past, but it is not too famous. But since a major incident occurred in the Forest of Manzo, it has become a forbidden zone in the land boundary. They don't know much about what happened inside, but there are more than 10 sixth-order emperors who have fallen solidly inside. Among them is the Peacock King. There are still people who can get treasures from that place. This value is too precious. There is just such a peacock in the entire realm. I don't know how many powerful people are greedy for King Daming's treasure. Now there is a feather. Does that mean that the strong man in the heavenly court has obtained the body of King Daming? I give out 500 million, 800 million, 2 billion. The asking price soon exceeded the limit of the fourth-order land boundary, and now the asking price is all the fifth-order emperor, even the sixth-order emperor. Jian Wushuang is even more dumbfounded. Isn't it just a feather? Is this necessary? He has seen a feather comparable to the world, and that is the real treasure. Originally, he wanted to buy this peacock feather containing the 5 elements to raise the pole, but now it seems that he is hopeless. In the end, this feather was sent into a certain VIP room. It is estimated that a fifth-order emperor succeeded. Forget it, the Forest of 10,000 Treasures. It's not something I can observe. Even if I get that feather, I can't figure out anything. Sixth-order emperors can get together and fall. It is indeed not that they dare to spy. The price of the next treasure has stabilized a lot, much more expensive than the previous round. But it is not as exaggerated as the first one, and everyone can accept it. Jian Wushuang also took the opportunity to take a part and spent hundreds of millions of sacred stones. Now he has consumed almost 1 billion. While auctioning while practicing, finally arrived at the formation-type treasure. The Luohu battle formation he fancied was in it. Only the reserve price has changed. It is based on the great formation arranged by the ancient Luohu. But this formation is modified according to the heavenly formation master Yin-Yang Old Man. Now it has become a simplified version. Only the fourth-order emperor can be deployed. Simplified version? It's a shame. Emperor Daxia Xiameng Meteorite stood in front of the huge French windows, looking at the battle formation in the hall. A glimmer of light in his eyes then disappeared. If it is the strongest Luohu battle formation, arranged by a 6th-tier emperor, the combat power can soar several times. There is a tier 6 combat power next to him. If there is a real Luohu battle formation, then they will have a better chance of winning against Mo Luo. If it is really the strongest version of Luohu battle formation, I am afraid that it will cost tens of billions of sacred stones. But these sacred stones are nothing to Daxia. The reserve price, 250 million yuan. 50 million cheaper than Jian Wushuang heard. 300 million. 550 million. Many smaller forces began to shout prices. Once this formation is set up, the fourth-order emperor can fight the fifth-order emperor, which is especially suitable for their small and medium-sized families. Not all families have fifth-order emperors. Some small families have only 2 or 3 fourth-order emperors. If you get this formation, you can make the family strength skyrocket again. https://mobile version reading URL. Chapter 5363. Auction began. The final decision on the 2 strategies was based on the opinion of a first-rank official. The proposal for a national war came from the second prince of the Duke's mansion, but it was too radical and unsuitable. There was no need to consult the ancestors. Xiameng Yuxing immediately vetoed the idea. As the crown prince mentioned, if the national war were to drag on, and the southern domain suddenly attacked, what would they do? Although the Mo Luo nation was strong, its strength was mainly superficial, and its foundation was lacking. A national war was unnecessary. They could defeat the enemy without it. With just 4 cities, a steady advance and slow erosion would be enough to entangle the Mo Luo nation. B0x. However, even so, the expenses of this campaign were staggering. Even a tier 6 emperor couldn't bear the burden, and only an ancient kingdom like Great Xia had the courage for such an endeavor. Military preparations and resource mobilization would take several years, and couldn't be accomplished overnight. Jian Wushuang's 10,000-strong army was inconspicuous in the Northern Army camp. Having spent decades in the military camp, constantly cooperating with these people, although the Luo Ho formation hadn't been mastered yet, preparations had to be made. Otherwise, there wouldn't be time to practice when the need arose. The 7 newly recruited Tier 4 emperors, known as the 7 Wonders of Meishan percent, had average strength, but they were knowledgeable in various unconventional methods. Among them was a snake-scorpion clan woman, exceptionally skilled in assassination and naturally charming. She had already had intimate relations with many emperors in the camp, causing Jian Wushuang a considerable headache. At the end of the 3rd era of the new calendar, a decade before the expedition, the auction proceeded as scheduled at the Ying Tower in the eastern city. On this day, it could be said that myriad immortals gathered. Tier 5 emperors, usually rare, one after another, made the Tier 4 emperors inconspicuous among them. Princes like Xiameng Guanyu were even more inconspicuous. Look, the imperial emperor of Great Xia. Many powerhouses followed the sound and looked. Great Xia Emperor. Xiameng Yunqing came dressed in a black dragon robe, accompanied by Xianyuan Anshui. In the heavens, Tier 5 emperors personally welcomed him, and, with the standard of a Tier 6 emperor, escorted the Great Xia imperial emperor into the Ying Tower. After a brief pause, Jian Wushuang also entered. Since he had put up the boundless ice corpse for auction here, there was no need to verify assets. He walked directly through the VIP channel. In just these few days, his overt expenses exceeded 300 million godstones. The heavens controlled everything, and information was a significant feature. How could they not know how many godstones the 9th prince had? 8 billion godstones. Jian Wushuang carried a precious item and entered the Ying Tower. This Ying Tower was in fact an eternal treasure, a treasure of the heavens, forming its own world inside. Ordinary cultivators could only sit on the throne in the hall, while VIPs had individual rooms. And the treasures Jian Wushuang had put up for auction here were very rare, qualifying him to sit here. Those who could sit here were either Tier 5 emperors or Tier 4 emperors with great fortunes, each with a net worth of over 10 billion. Entering the room, the interior was somewhat similar to the Firefox Palace. Before him were huge gauze windows, clearly revealing everything happening in the outer hall, while the outside couldn't see what was happening inside. Sitting on the white jade-carved throne, Jian Wushuang curiously looked toward the hall. Now there were already millions of people in the hall. The weakest were a few Dao lords, probably those who came with their elders. Among the emperors, the weakest were at the peak of the Tier 3. Some covered their faces, making it impossible to see their expressions, while others revealed their faces, but most of them were not their true appearances. The auction began soon after. A gracefully elegant and supremely slender beauty stepped onto the central stage of the auction hall. This seemingly alluring beauty was, in fact, a genuine Tier 6 emperor, surpassing the eunuch in the imperial palace by several grades, and even outclassing the ancestral figure of the Great Xia among the Tier 6 emperors, already reaching the level of the Shanking's supreme ancestor. Ladies and gentlemen, coming from afar, on behalf of the heavenly court, I express our gratitude for your presence. The beautiful woman bowed slightly after speaking. This scene surprised many in the hall. A Tier 6 emperor. She actually bowed to them, the Tier 3 emperors. This was also the reason why the heavenly court could become a peak force, not arrogant or rash. Alright, now the auction officially begins. Oh, I forgot to introduce myself. I am Nalan Ci. Nalan Ci. Bai Junwang muttered to himself. Jian Wushuang furrowed his brows slightly, asking in confusion, "What's wrong? Do you know her?" "I don't know this little girl, but I know the ancestor of the Nalan family," Bai Junwang asserted confidently. The Nalan family? This was the first time Jian Wushuang had heard of it. Curious, he asked. "Are you so sure she is from the Nalan family as you claim?" "He quite charming. All the women of the Nalan family look the same. How could I not recognize them? Back then, I had some dealings with the ancestor of the Nalan family." Here, Bai Junwang wore a somewhat nostalgic expression. Jian Wushuang shook his head, paying no attention to the other party, and focused on the auction hall. The first treasure appeared. Exclusive to the Tiannan, rhinoceros horn wood. Its fragrance can make people seek enlightenment in their dreams. Starting price, 5 million godstones. Nalan Ci held the treasure in one hand, while scanning the audience with the other. The sensing power of the Tier 6 Emperor was terrifying. Each bid was clearly confirmed. 6 million. 6,500,000. 7 million. In the hall, a white-haired old man, a hint of amusement in his eyes, raised the token and said in a low voice, 10 million. 10 million? No need to continue. Many chose to give up. This treasure was somewhat redundant for Tier 4 emperors, and too extravagant for Tier 3 emperors. Offering 10 million was already a high price. Soon the first item was sold, in just a few breaths. There were about 100,000 items for auction this time, and at this rate, it would take years to finish selling them all. The first few items were all within the 10 million range, gradually increasing as the auction progressed, with starting bids exceeding 10 million. The blue fire boundary stone, capable of activating the origin source of the fire space within, starting bid 150 million. A treasure related to the origin of the space. Jian Wushuang immediately became interested. This time, he not only needed treasures of various kinds to enhance his extreme Dao, but he also needed to improve the origin of the space. For future paving, the origin of the space was closely related to his current strongest field, the one-thought universe. The stronger the space, the more powerful the one-thought universe. In the one-thought universe, he had crossed tiers multiple times, relying on suppressing his opponents within it to enhance his own combat power. Even after merging with the power of devouring, he found that when suppressing opponents, he could devour the lost combat power of the opponent, making him even more formidable than before. This was his strongest trump card. When the one-thought universe emerged, his combat power increased by more than 10 times. Much stronger than a supreme treasure. 20 million. In the VIP room, there was no token, but there was a jade slip on the armrest of the throne. Just tapping it would display his bid. He directly added 5 million. Chapter 5364. The Spirit of Vegetation. Among the 5 elements, it can be regarded as the ultimate treasure of the Wood Road. Apart from the 4 great halls, there are not many other treasures that can be used. Jian Wushuang nodded, exactly as King Bai said. This kind of treasure can be seen as a waste in the hands of the indigenous people. Only 4 billion stones. I didn't know that I was bought by that lucky guy. Fortunately, the opponent picked up the treasure, but unfortunately because the native emperors wanted it to be useless. Gui Qing, after getting the spirit of plants and trees, carefully researched, found something strange. No wonder Jiang Shang could not see its essence. The spirit of grass and trees is just a name. He really didn't expect that the trees and trees really formed consciousness and possessed the true spirit. The condensed true spirit has arranged a mist on the grass and wood spirit, which can block the observation of others. I found the treasure. Gui Qing had a calm personality, but after getting such a treasure, she also leaked a smile. The value of this spirit of vegetation is too high. If it is placed in the 4th hall, it is also a treasure of the heavens. With true spirit, that level represents that this grass-cutting spirit can still grow. Jiang Shang looked curiously from the side, unexpectedly stretched out his hand to touch the grass, and wood spirits unconsciously. But when she touched it, she just dropped a finger in an instant. The blood donated spouted out, and sprinkled all over the floor. There are also a lot of contamination on the body of the spirits of plants and trees. Gui Qing saw this, and quickly grabbed Jiang Shang's slender jade hand, and instilled a trace of supernatural power, only to instantly restore Jiang Shang's fingers to their original shape. Jiang Shang drew out his little hand, lowered his head and said, "Master, I'm fine. It's okay." The scene just now really scared Hui Qing. When he looked at the spirit of grass and trees in his hand again, he found that it had actually changed. Was originally just a root, but now it has changed into a small grass. Woohoo! The true spirit contained in it actually made a sound. and Huiqing quickly sealed the entire spirit of vegetation with her own divine power. Then a little boy with the appearance of a child poked his head out of the spirit of plants and trees, and stared curiously outside, glanced at Huiqing, shook his head, and then when he arrived at Jiangshang, a surprised expression leaked out of his small face, and his eyes were round. I thought it was a bachelor who had been playing for a lifetime, and saw the little girl's eyes. Jiangshang's heart is straight. The host. Jiang Dan and Huiqing looked at each other. Both of them revealed surprised expressions. At the same time, 10 treasures were sold one after another. Jian Wushuang sighed. Even more directly retreat in place. I don't know at all that the spirit of vegetation just now will change everything. In the remote Sea of Origin, some wretched true spirits were fishing leisurely. The entire Qishan temple was completely restored, and batches of inheritors were sent to the Tomb Mountain. After countless selections in the Fairy competition, under the guidance of the Qishan temple, many ultimate existences emerged, and they began to accept the trial of Great Fairy in the primitive world. Is like reincarnation, batches of dying immortals entered the 4 secret realms. In just 1,000 years, 100,000 inheritors were born, and they all settled in the Tomb Mountain. Is now the 6th batch of people settled in. Everything is moving in a good direction, but there was a strange aura just now, suddenly appeared in the 4 secret realms, making true spirit feel uncomfortable. Couldn't help but sneezed, then looked at the canopy for a while, and found that there was no change. He was still a little worried. Finally sensed the source. Or the boundary? Eyes gathered together. Look back in time. The forest of Manzhou. The real spirit was furious. When looking back in time, he found that a thief had gone to the forest of 10,000 treasures. Ryuichi, angrily shouted Long Yi, who was far away in the bloodthirsty continent, was drinking with a few ordinary people. Hearing the cry of the true spirit, Jiojin woke up instantly and disappeared into a cave in a flash. Several monsters with pig heads, bull heads, and tiger heads all thought they were drinking too much, and found that the eldest brother, who was sitting on the main seat, suddenly disappeared. Rubbed his eyes and found that they were indeed missing, and they all woke up. These monsters in the mountains do not yet know that their eldest brother is the master of the entire bloodthirsty continent. After arriving at the Sea of Origin, Long wiped the corners of his mouth and walked to the real spirit. My lord, summon what's the matter with your subordinates? Zhenling looked at Long Yi up and down and shook his head. Where did you get those emperors? Long smiled awkwardly. Slowly he said, My lord, didn't you say that the 4 secret realms lacked manpower? Anyway, if you don't fight outside, I will keep them all in the 4 secret realms and let them play by themselves. You are so chic. The real spirit laughed angrily by him. Those 4th-order emperors in the primitive universe have broken through dozens of them in 1,000 years since they entered the Tomb Mountain, are all 5th-order emperors, and they have reached this strength, and there are very few 4 secret realms that can help them, and the rest can be realized on their own. Let them follow Long Yi first, and get familiar with the foreign expedition. As a result, Long Yi gave these people sheep, and left them in the 4 secret realms. These were nothing at all. He opened one eye and closed one eye and passed away. But now something has happened in the 4 secret realms. Bai had a bad temper, and he was in charge of the 4 secret realms. It was useless to call him over. Can only find the dragon to vent his anger. Scolded the dragon first, and then rushed to the subject. Now you go to the 4 secret realms and get people back to me. If they can't use their hands and feet in the bloodthirsty continent, then take them to experience and practice in the long river of time. If you don't want to go too far, then go to one. Traveling to the realm, I think that the heavenly court is very unpleasant. Go to make trouble, kill a few people, especially one named Nalen. I want to live if there is more Nalen. Zhenling said the name. His teeth itch. A 6th-order emperor, who has lived for countless years, without his face, sneaked into the forest of 10,000 treasures to steal things. That place was originally a sealed place. Who knew what the old guy had stolen made him feel uneasy. This. Long Yi quickly figured out what the real spirit was going to do. said that he was asking him to recall those emperors. Isn't he taking this name and letting him go to the 4 secret realms to kill people? Why? Do you have an opinion? Junling squinted at Long Yi. Bai controls the 4 secret realms and runs around, and countless epochs have never stopped. Zhui now controls the primitive world, constantly screening inheritors. Geniki, he really can't control this. And he can't help it if he is not controlled by the Sea of Origin in the outer hall. But anyway, the other 3 hall masters each perform their duties and have their own things to do. And Long Yi is the most leisurely. He gave it to a few emperors and asked him to carry it, but he didn't bother to bring it. Sometimes he wondered if Long Yi was made by a god. No, I'm going now. Long waved his hand quickly, and without waiting for the true spirit to say anything, he disappeared in place and headed toward the 4 secret realms. https:// mobile version reading URL. Chapter 5365. In the Sea of Origin, Long Yi is nothing, but when he reaches the boundary of the 4 secret realms, he is the sky, and no one can contend. The strongest combat power of the Temple of Qi. Among the 4 hall masters, the hall master in charge of the outward crusade. The combat power can be imagined. Shuttle and body shape. Long Yi quickly reached the boundary of one of the 4 secret realms. His appearance surprised Bai Yi. In the land boundary, Bai Yi's true body often sits here. Why are you here? Bai Yi looked at Long Yi in the teleportation array with a little surprise. Long Yi stepped out of the teleportation formation and said generously, I'm ordered to crusade against the Nailing clan. The cyan battle armor wrapped Long Yi's entire face. Only a pair of blue faint eyes leaked out, which was extremely domineering. Nailing clan. Bai Yi was a little confused, and then thought that there is such a family in the realm. But Long Yi sits in the bloodthirsty continent. Who orders to conquer him? Really? For an instant, Bai Yi thought of the true spirit. Suddenly sending dragon one by one to fight against the land boundary. It seems that the land boundary is going to be in chaos again. This is not heaven, he doesn't care. Tianen and Tianbei are all messed up into a pot of porridge, just go and make trouble. Just about to set foot on the teleportation formation again, Long Yi, who was going to fight against the Nailing clan, suddenly walked off the teleportation formation. I need information. He came to the realm, his eyes were black, and he didn't know anything. It wouldn't work without intelligence. Bai Yi was taken aback for a moment, and then handed Long Yi a piece of jade slip. Tianen Daxia. The auction continues. The reserve prices of the treasures auction later exceeded 1 billion, and Jian Wushuang completely gave up. Now he had 2 billion sacred stones left on him. It took half of the cost to buy Luohu battle array and Heavenly Demon's unique knowledge, and another 2 billion sacred stones to buy the original treasures of all things. In fact, about 1 billion is almost the same, but Jian Wushuang is afraid that it is not enough to double it. Now his power of all things has begun to appear to the point. It's just that these are not enough. Only after a thorough breakthrough can he completely master the power of all things. At that time, it will be truly inexhaustible. Thought power devouring everything. The 9 layers of Jidao, the 3 powers, are now the power of all things. After swallowing all the treasures, the 6th floor was completely completed, and it was only a bit short of a breakthrough. The bottleneck. There was still a chance. Jian Wushuang's eyes flickered. This timing cannot be forced. After mastering the power of all things, his origin can be regarded as the real Mahayana, the 7th level of the ultimate path, and the 7th level of the extreme path. Both of them have reached the same position. The divine body is now 10,000 times stronger, and breakthroughs are not a problem. Everything is moving steadily toward his training plan. According to his speculation, once the 9th rank is complete, his combat power may be comparable to the 4th Order Emperor. At that time, maybe you don't need Luohu's battle formation to be able to kill that Prince Maluo. It's a pity that the Eye of the Candle Dragon is completely retired. And now the inner armor of the Candle Dragon and the wings of the Candle Dragon are useful. But one of the two is for defense, the other represents speed, and is slightly defensive. There is no source power of the beast above. Although it is of great help to him now, it is still not as magical as the eye of the candle dragon, which can make the body soar. He has been in the 4 secret realms for thousands of years, but he hasn't heard that there is a treasure that can increase the divine body. There is only a treasure that defends the divine body, and there is no treasure that makes the divine body stronger. The only thing that amplifies the divine body is jerk. When the eye of candle dragon retired, he could only rely on heavenly demon art. It also coincides with this identity. You can practice heavenly devil gong in an open and honest manner. In more than a month, his comprehension of heavenly demon art reached the Hinayana realm. Xiamang Guanyu had only reached the Hinayana realm after so many years of cultivating. He did it in 1 month. This is the power of the promised divine body. At this time, the Wuji ice corpse he was selling was auctioned off in the hall. The ice corpse containing the promised divine body. The reserve price is 300 million sacred stones. Nalansi waved his hand, and a lifelike ice corpse appeared behind him, the wife who was Jianqi. When everyone saw the ice corpse, there was no big surprise. Many people have heard that Daxia's 9th prince didn't know where he got a high-profile ice corpse and hung it at the auction house. Contains the promised divine body, this sect wants it. An old man sitting in the VIP room pressed his wrist, and the entourage behind him began to increase the price. Contains the promised divine body. Others have no ability to swallow it, but it can be grafted. As long as the graft is perfectly grafted, it is equivalent to one more powerhouse of the promised divine body, which is the supreme treasure for casting the divine body. The reserve price of 300 million is low. Billion. The old man's entourage was a 4th-order emperor, and the price was extremely arrogant. If the old man can directly say that he wants it, the price will naturally not be a problem. The identity of the old man is not ordinary. Although he is a 5th-order emperor, the resources that can be mobilized are probably not weaker than that of a family, because he is the ancestor of a sect in Daxia ancient country. In the hall, the mysterious emperor who originally challenged Jian Wushuang had a look of greed in his eyes. Not only him, but many emperors in the hall are 10,000 times divine body. The grafted person must have the same divine body. Before Jianqi's wife died, the promised divine body completely broke out, reached about 10,000 times. Regardless of whether the 3rd-order emperor took the line of the body, he was at this level, and it was not an ordinary emperor that had reached this level. Many of these 3rd-order emperors have unusual identities, and there are few casual cultivators. The casual cultivators who can come here are generally 4th-order emperors. Those 5th-order and even 6th-order emperors vie for the descendants of the sect or family, but these 3rd-order and 4th-order emperors are for themselves. Unfortunately, they can't compete. At this time, most of the people in the hall were envious. If they have a strong background, they won't be in the hall anymore. In the sect or clan, they are elites, and they don't have much resources. Tens of millions, hundreds of millions is very simple. But billions are far beyond its own category. Now in the lobby, there are only a few people who can follow the bids, and most of them are from the VIP room upstairs. Jian Wushuang stared sharply at the hair, and his heart was filled with joy. He knew that the promised divine body was very precious, and it was one of the 10 ancient divine bodies. But he didn't expect it to be so crazy that the old monsters would go crazy and increase the price. Especially when he saw the mysterious emperor, who deliberately raised the price of Luohu battle formation before. He was even more happy. I gave out 1,999 million. With a smile on Jian Wushuang's face, he deliberately waited for the mysterious emperor to make a bid and pressed him up. The mysterious emperor at the bottom frowned slightly when he heard that it was the person who had previously purchased the Luohu battle formation. At that time, he wanted to play, and he wasn't very interested in Luohu's battle formation. If he really wanted to buy it, it didn't matter, but he decided to order this promise ice corpse. He is also a rich man, not because of how many sacred stones he has, but a treasure he consigns in the heavenly court, which gives him too much quota. Chapter 5366. Although the divine body surpasses the ice corpse, he has a way to extract the promised divine body from that corpse, and upgrade the promised divine body to fit him, and then merge it. This cost is very high. At least tens of billions of investment can be spent, tens of billions. Can make him double cultivation of the essence of the divine body. This is a business that is not afraid of making money. The Fifth Order Emperor can wander in almost any ruins in the realm. Each time he earns hundreds of millions of dollars. After countless epochs, who is not a wealthy person, even if the daily expenses are very huge, the old monsters who have lived for countless years are worth a lot of money. Just like Xianyuan Japan, the treasure of billions of sacred stones was destroyed, and another 8 billion sacred stones were lost, which totaled tens of billions. I didn't care about it. The only regret was that I didn't find the murderer. So the stone is nothing to these people. Enhancing strength is the fundamental. 3 billion. The mysterious emperor didn't want to play with Jian Wushuang, and directly increased the price by 1 billion. 5 billion. 6 billion. Humph. There was a muffled hum from above. A strong momentum came out. And then a domineering voice came out. 10 billion. As soon as that momentum spread, it was easily dissipated by Nalansi. This is the auction house. And there are many weak emperors. Not everyone can resist the anger of the Sixth Order Emperor. This can be regarded as a kind of warning. The Sixth Order Emperor has made a move, so don't bid if you are familiar with it. It is not to overwhelm people, but to let others understand that the financial resources of the Sixth Order Emperor are not comparable to them. Under the recommendation, Mimi Reading Gap is really good. It is worth installing one for book friends, and Android and Apple mobile phones support it. The Sixth Order Emperor can go to the most dangerous relics. For example, in the Forest of 10,000 Treasures, a plant spirit can sell for billions, and there are too many plant spirits in the Forest of 10,000 Treasures. If it weren't for being blocked and unable to enter, the Sixth Order Emperor could easily obtain tens of billions of sacred stones in one go. 8 billion. The mysterious emperor in the hall was a little unwilling to give up. Finally added it once. Jian Wushuang's eyes shrank and his heart came out. This time he really posted. Actually sold for tens of billions. And some people will increase the price. At the beginning, it was expected to sell for billions at most, but I didn't expect it to be tens of billions. King Bai reminded indifferently. Don't be too surprised. When you have inexhaustible wealth, you encounter something you like, let alone tens of billions, even hundreds of billions. I can't finish it. Jian Wushuang shook his head. He used to be in the mundane hometown world, and he has reached that level. He can't use it all, and there are fewer things he likes, and the whole person will change. Because the pursuit is diminished, the practitioner will never end. Once stopped, the whole person will be deserted. Only constant breakthroughs and constant strengthening are the truths. The result is not important. The process is the most shocking thing. In the VIP room, the ancestor of the sect shook his head, and did not let his entourage continue to increase the price. Now only the Sixth Order Emperor is left. 20 billion. The domineering voice came again. The mysterious emperor in the hall gave up completely. Jian Wushuang wanted to add it again. Maybe the Sixth Order Emperor would have broken 100 billion. He is a seller, and he can't bid prices. This is the rule. And once it is listed, it cannot be redeemed. In the end, the Wuxia ice corpse fell into the hands of the Sixth Order Emperor, and the auction continued. In less than a quarter of an hour, someone delivered mustard seeds containing 20 billion sacred stones. After groping for a while, a trace of thought power passed through the mustard seeds, and saw 2 huge black divine stones with bright eyes. It's actually one. Jian Wushuang was a little surprised. The sacred stones he saw were all sacred stones, less than 3 inches in length and width. King Bai opened his mouth and said, the Sixth Order Emperor just now should be a 20 billion sacred stone mortgaged with treasures. Except for some family sects, the Sixth Order Emperor usually doesn't bring too many sacred stones. The sacred stone is for them. Even if you get a huge amount of sacred stones, you will spend them as soon as possible to exchange for some treasures, such as some emperor pill. restore the original treasure. These are hard currency. As for these sacred stones, they are all condensed by the strong, so I am too lazy to divide them. It is estimated that the heavenly court has stored a lot. This is the first time Jian Wushuang has seen the divine stone as a whole, and the power contained in it is quite terrifying. 100 sacred stones are almost one side, and these tens of billions of sacred stones are 100 million squares. His value skyrocketed again, and Jian Wushuang also had the confidence to seek a treasure that suits him in the next finale treasure, especially the eternal treasure. The most common eternal treasure, the reserve price should be around tens of billions. If you are lucky, it is really possible to win. After the high price of the Promise Ice Corpse, the auction below once exceeded 10 billion. Especially a grown-up special life skeleton, already at the emperor level. The divine body is about 30,000 times. It is already a strong man of 5 levels. Its price is even more than 50 billion. Jian Wushuang was very eager to watch. If he could swallow this special life, his divine body would exceed 30,000 times. But 20,000 times would not be a problem. The key is the secret technique of grafting. As long as you get this, a corpse with a special life can transform itself into a special life at the monarch level. This is more powerful than the 10 ancient divine bodies. After all, born with a special life, Jian Wushuang used to transform himself when he was in the Great Siyu. The divine body was equivalent to the ordinary and special life of the outside world. It's far from this kind of special life at the cosmic level. Special beings like Qishui Walker, who are born 10,000 times the divine body, are truly powerful. When it was born, there were 10,000 times of the divine body, and then it will be upgraded again according to the realm. After breaking through the emperor, I am afraid there will be 30,000 divine bodies. The perfect life born in the universe should not be much different from the strongest special life in the Qishan Temple. The origin of the Qishan Temple is stronger than the universe, but it has flaws, and on the whole it is similar to the original universe. There is a flaw in the origin, but the special life born is not much different. As the price of treasures continues to rise, the auction has come to an end. Dear friends, there are 100 treasures at the finale of this auction. The first 90 are in no particular order. The stronger the last 10 treasures, the lower the ranking. Nalansi casually introduced, most of the strong people present here I have participated many times, and I understand the rules. Many strong people are very calm. After all, I don't know how many epochs I have survived. Such auctions often participate in such auctions. Although Jian Wushuang was quite knowledgeable, he also felt a bit exaggerated. The previous prices were all over 50 billion, and now there are 100 finale treasures. What price does that cost? Especially the last 10 treasures. I am afraid that they can exceed 100 billion. You know, the Xianyuan family can now take out the cash to participate in the auction, which is only hundreds of billions. You can't just clean up your home just because of an auction. Chapter 5367. The lonely Fifth Order Emperor may not be worth that much. Even if he deliberately sells some treasures because of the auction and collects hundreds of billions of sacred stones, can he guarantee the purchase of a treasure? His more than 20 billion yuan is not enough to look at. I am afraid that the Sixth Order Emperor with rich wealth can be auctioned at will. The worth of those old guys is probably countless. There are countless epochs. Even if every epoch is fished out once, there are now countless times. Don't look down on those Sixth Order Emperors too much. They are all golden swallowing beasts, and the Fifth Order Emperors can't afford the resources needed for daily cultivation. Bai Junwang saw Jian Wushuang's doubts. Jian Wushuang shook his head and said calmly, "According to the news I got, none of the following treasures are suitable for me. Anyway, the ones that should be bought have already been bought, and there is no need to force them." Just as he said, the final treasures in the back are all treasures suitable for the Fifth Order Emperor, and even the Sixth Order Emperor, and the price is more than tens of billions, and there are many more than 100 billion. For example, a high eternal treasure, with a reserve price of 50 billion, was auctioned to more than 300 billion, and was bought by a sixth-order emperor. Which treasure is a pitch-black war knife, belonging to the most common treasure among the eternal treasures. After all, it is only a single attack, and its value is not as high as those of domain or palace treasures. If it is the high eternal treasure of the domain category, I am afraid it can break through 500 billion. The eternal treasure is still a little far away for Jian Wushuang. At least it takes a fourth-order emperor to exert its power. He is a Taoist, and the imitation of the eternal treasure is enough. The 29th piece, 20 blood crystals of the wind beast god, each with a reserve price of 5 billion sacred stones. If 20 pieces are added together, the reserve price is 100 billion. The beast of wind. All the fifth-order emperors were shocked. Beast god, the legendary beast god. As long as everything about the beast god, it is priceless in the realm, and even the 4 secret realms. The blood crystal of the beast is regarded as the most common treasure of the beast god. But for the emperor, its function is the existence against the sky. Insert a sentence. Mimi reading gap. Really good. It is worth installing. After all, there are many books, all books, and fast updates. Not only the emperor, if the Taoist has the money to buy, it is also the treasure of heaven, the treasure of improving the foundation. The blood crystal of the wind beast contains the wind of all things, and the wind in space. And after analysis, there are many roads such as thunder and lightning. This is the super treasure to enhance the origin. Even the divine body can improve. The only pity is the beast of wind. If it is the beast of gold, then the price may be able to sell 100 billion stones. The wind beast is slightly niche, but Jian Wushuang's extreme way encompasses everything. No matter the beast god, it is useful to him. I used to admire the beast gods, and the illusion in my heart could also become the powerhouse of the beast gods that day. Now, although he hasn't done it, he can be regarded as seeing this feast. Just when everyone was excited and shouted the sky-high price. However, Nalansi reminded many people to sigh. The consignment fellow Taoist has set a rule. Each person can only auction 1 blood crystal of the beast god, and 20 blood crystals of the beast god, which will be obtained by the 20 highest bidders. The sixth-order emperor sitting in the VIP room couldn't help but snorted coldly. Hundreds of billions of sacred stones. No matter what, if you get these beast god's blood crystals, his origin can continue to improve. Now his state has reached a steady state. You can only purchase some side-by-side treasures to enhance your own strength. Now the blood crystal of the wind beast god is the supreme treasure for him. The sixth-order emperor, who has mastered the space thunder. You can redeem all the treasures. It's a pity that I can only buy 1, too unwilling. For them, improving their original strength is much stronger than the side door. With some weird methods, anyone can cultivate, but not everyone can reach that level. The sixth-order emperor is deflated, and the fifth-order emperor is happy. I am afraid there are not many sixth-order emperors here, and they still have a good chance. Such an opportunity, Jian Wushuang was eager to see, but it was a pity that he didn't have enough money. 22 billion. All the cash was smashed up, instantly becoming the highest bidder. The strong ones behind are not watching, and they start to increase their prices frantically. 30 billion. 208 billion. Soon Jian Wushuang fell into the top 10. He was extremely nervous when he saw it. King White was not too shocked. He once had power comparable to a beast god. He was almost a withered old man at the beginning, but after that power entered his body, he returned to his peak. Moreover, he has even controlled the origin of the universe, one person fighting 2 superpowers. Mr. Bai, your physical body. Jian Wushuang licked his lips. Now his quotation fell out of the top 20 immediately. But there are not many treasures that he can sell. Can only ask the White King for help. He remembered that when King White's physical body and divine body disappeared, the opponent retained a lot of things, such as bones and skin tissues, as well as the power of the divine body. King Bai was stunned for a moment, but he didn't expect Jian Wushuang to hit him with his idea. And he was a little bit twisted. That was his former physical body, although it has been ruined, and will not be used in the future. He does not want to sell it either. Selling his body, if this spreads out, where will his face go? Once an absolute powerhouse. Now it's reduced to selling oneself. In a word, if you agree, I will repay it. Jian Wushuang is also a decisive person. If he doesn't borrow, he won't force it. Take it. The White King appeared in figure and handed out the first-order colored skeleton, which was shining brightly above. This is the strongest sixth-order bone. Its value is greater. Kindness without saying thanks. King Bai said in a low voice. Jian Wushuang, you have to remember that I helped you when you were weak, and whether you have the Tao or I have the Tao first, you will have to assist the other party. Don't worry. Jian Wushuang was not a senseless man either. King White helped him. No matter what happened to them, King White will be his benefactor at this moment. If according to ethics, he reshaped the body for King White, the other party would have to call him daddy according to his seniority, but he did not dare to say it. If he said it, I am afraid that King White would be to death. 50 billion. After Jian Wushuang's skeleton he quoted again. It's just that the price has never been shown. And the people of Heavenly Court probably don't believe that he has so many sacred stones. In the next moment, someone walked outside the door. Without waiting for the other party to speak, Jian Wushuang threw that piece of bone directly. Is it enough? Only a fourth-order emperor came. After seeing the skeleton, he couldn't believe it, his expression was shocked, and he was surprised. This, I need to ask the elder for instructions. Jian Wushuang nodded, looking like an outsider. The White King was angry and cursed, obviously because of the eyelessness of the fourth-order emperor, and he secretly wrote down in his heart. After regaining his strength, he must go to the heaven to find a place. Chapter 5368. This fourth-order emperor put away the colored bones and hurriedly entered the deepest part of the auction venue. In a secret room, there were 7 fifth-order emperors, each of whom was a master of appreciating treasures. As soon as the colored bones appeared, they took a breath. Beyond the 6 levels? Another old man shook his head and said in a low voice. Not for the time being. Its owner is much stronger than Tier 6, but it has not exceeded the scope of Tier 6. Seniors, if there is no problem, then I will reply to the other party. The fourth-order emperor, who came, was a little anxious. After all, the outside bidding would be the same for a while. The old man of Jianbao handed the bone over again. It's really okay, but this bone is too new. It doesn't look like it's fallen from the ancients, but it looks like it was just taken out of the body. If King Bai heard this, he would definitely be complacent. Since ancient times, I am afraid that no strong man has fallen, and he can collect his own flesh and save it carefully. The flesh and body has only fallen for 1,000 years. It is of course very new and well protected. It looks like it was just taken out of the body. It's weird, in the last era. It seems that only the Forest of 10,000 Treasury has had the ultimate battle. Can it be said? Several master appraisers leaked out the look of fear. Is it possible that besides the Heavenly Court, anyone can enter the Forest of 10,000 Treasures? Among them, there are also people who have entered the Forest of 10,000 Folds. Just 1,000 years ago, after the Great War in the Forest of 10,000 years ago, the place was sealed off by the temple. However, the ancestors of the Nalan family have a treasure of space. They can shuttle at will, take them into the forest of thousands of hidden treasures, and take away many treasures. Like the spirits of plants and trees, there are a large number of them. There is also a spirit of vegetation, which has reached its maturity stage. The spirit of vegetation that was auctioned this time was picked from its surroundings. They still don't know at this time that the mature vegetation spirit has become a real vegetation spirit, condensing spiritual consciousness and hiding on the roots of the vegetation spirit they auctioned. Now it has been obtained by Huiqing. If they knew how powerful it was, they would probably leave and catch Huiqing and take the treasure back. I don't know now. There will be no chance in the future. The great calamity of the heaven will come soon. A terrifying strong man is coming, and that strong man's combat power is faintly ranked first in the Temple of Qishan. Of course, except for the real spirit. Even the ultimate emperor is not his opponent when there is no Hinayana realm in the cosmic secret method. The Fourth Order Emperor hurriedly took the colored bones and went back to the room where Jian Wushuang was, and said respectfully, "The treasure is okay. I wonder if you want to mortgage it or sell it on consignment." "Auction finally sold today. No problem." Jian Wushuang breathed a sigh of relief after the other party left. He was afraid that the other party could not say enough. After confirming the value, his quotation went up. "It's just 30 billion sacred stones, and now they are not high. It is estimated that it is very high, and the price has to be increased." In the room not far away, several powerful men from the Xianyuan family all had excitement in their eyes. Xianyuan Depan, as the second-rank elder of the Kemen, had long inquired about the blood crystals of the beast god, and prepared hundreds of billions of sacred stones just for now. His quotation has always been in the top 10, and will be added as long as it falls. "Father, with this treasure, the fourth brother will probably not be long before." It was the boss, Xianyuan Ansheng. His strength and potential are average, but he has the ability to lead the family. In these years, Xianyuan Depan has led the family to fight. In the capital, Xianyuan Ansheng has always been in the family, teaching the younger generations, and playing a very important role for the future Xianyuan family. The eldest of the Xianyuan families in character generation, that is his fourth younger brother, has now reached the fourth order limit state under his guidance, and he is almost able to break through. Once a breakthrough occurs, the Xianyuan family will have two fifth order emperors, and the family will naturally be great again. Xianyuan Depan was fighting abroad, and his heart strength also gained confidence. After all, the family still has a fifth order emperor, at least not afraid of death. Even if it falls, there are still people in the family holding on. Therefore, the blood crystal of the beast must be taken down. And once the blood crystal of the beast is helped, the breakthrough will not be a problem. The fourth old Xianyuan Anhai has great potential, and his combat power is even more invincible at the same level. The divine body is more than 29,000 times, and the origin of the space is very solid. If he breaks through the fifth order emperor, his strength can surpass Xianyuan Depan in the future. After all, it is the dual cultivation of the body and the origin. As long as Anhai breaks through, it is worth it to spend as many sacred stones. Xianyuan Depan's eyes were calm, and the 100 billion sacred stones would almost certainly win a beast god's blood crystal. Report 60 billion. Prices are still climbing. Few of the fifth order emperors who came this time were those who practiced the origin of wind, but it did not prevent them from bidding. Once they were photographed, they would sell to those who practiced the origin of wind, thunder, electricity and rain. A profitable business. Jian Wushuang had already added 50 billion, but it was still at the end. For the value of that bone, Heaven gave a base price of 20 billion and a quota of 50 billion. Adding his principal, he was worth at most 72 billion. According to the current trend, 50 billion instability, just press it all. Jian Wushuang shook his head, no longer thinking about saving money. Instead of adding it slowly, it's better to go all in and let some despair and fewer competitors. 72 billion. Jian Wushuang's position instantly stood second. The first is 100 billion. The sixth order emperor reported hundreds of billions from the very beginning, and he has been standing in the first position. No one can shake. Even if the blood crystal of the beast is given to the most suitable person, it can be sold for 100 billion. This price is already high, and if it exceeds it, it means a loss. After Jian Wushuang's bid, the ranking of the bid was indeed missing some people, but some other powerful players were also increasing their prices wildly, all with 70 billion. Soon the top 10 were all over 70 billion, and the bottom 10 were constantly changing. Soon the 50 billion disappeared completely, and all were over 60 billion. The ranking is also gradually stabilizing, and it is clear that many fifth-order emperors have also reached a situation where they are exhausted. Some people have also received internal news and are still waiting for the final treasure behind them. Can't be hanged on a tree. After a while, it calmed down completely. Jian Wushuang is ranked 17th. The next three are all 70 billion sacred stones. A, B, See? Ding! Congratulations! The 20 fellow Taoists above have obtained the blood crystals of the wind beast god. Nalansi waved his hand, and the 20 floating blood crystals of the beast flew to the 20 heavenly guards, who were sent to the VIP room. The powerhouses in the hall all looked enthusiastically, and there were also some hidden fifth-order emperors, but this time they were all photographed by the people above. Compared with it, what makes people more curious is who is so lucky to get 20 blood crystals. Chapter 5369. Adding these blood crystals together, more than 1 trillion sacred stones, more than 10 billion cubic meters, can gradually become a small continent. If it is a sixth-order emperor, I am afraid that they will not sell it. They have their own channels, and can sell to the strong people they know. I am afraid the price will be higher. The emperor who can choose to be put in the auction for auction is probably a fifth-order emperor. As for the fourth-order emperor, even if he is lucky, he has no hope of obtaining so many blood crystals. The treasures of beast gods generally appear in some powerful relics, where even the sixth-order emperor may fall. It is also very common for fifth-order emperors to take great luck and obtain treasures. There was once a fifth-order emperor with great luck, and he explored a sixth-order emperor's residence and obtained an amazing treasure. From an ordinary fifth-order emperor to the fifth-order peak existence, he created a super family and recruited several fifth-order emperors. It is conceivable how many treasures he has obtained. More than 1 trillion yuan. This transaction price is probably the pinnacle of this auction. Even the 10 treasures at the finale, I am afraid it is difficult to exceed this price. After all, the sixth-order emperor, not many came. The fifth-order emperor who came out of trillions, I am afraid it is also the leader of a few big forces. For example, the emperor of Daxia. He can still mobilize trillions of sacred stones. After all, he has such a huge territory in Daxia. Inside the room, Jian Wushuang grasped the scarlet spar with one hand, and an ancient roar suddenly sounded inside his body. It feels so wonderful. The whole thing resonated with him. Just for an instant, the depths of his heart moved slightly, and the power of all things rose. The seventh layer of Jidao began to loosen. The power of all things exploding now is scattered. Once it breaks through the seventh layer, it will be active and can be endless. Broken. On the pillar of origin, Jian Wushuang shouted angrily, and the power of all things in his body exploded. His whole body rose up, and the White King who had helped Jian Wushuang to understand the unique knowledge of the demon hurriedly backed down beside him. And at the same time, there was a look of envy in his eyes. His origin, even if refining is successful, the most correct is comparable to the ultimate. But now Jian Wushuang's origin has surpassed the ultimate way. The ultimate sword Dao on the side was already at the 7th level, but it was still trembling when it encountered the 6th level extreme Dao. Seeing all this, the White King has mixed feelings in his heart. He not only envied Jian Wushuang's strength, but also Jian Wushuang's identity. Although it is a bit sad now, he can restore his identity as a successor at any time in the future, and will still be vigorously cultivated by the Temple of Qishan. But what about him? After regaining the peak, the strength reaches the peak of absolute peak. Will Keki Temple accept him? If there is no to help him hide, I am afraid that he would be caught as soon as he dared to show his head. Either he would be killed directly, or he would be thrown into the second prison to suffer. He had heard Jian Wushuang say that Shanjun and other characters were thrown into the second prison and suffered crimes. Even if he recovers to his peak, he may not be as strong as Shanjun. I am afraid that he will not live for a few days after entering. After all, Shanjun is in danger of life. For him, Jian Wushuang was just a thigh that hadn't grown up yet. According to Jian Wushuang's current background, after he Dao, he will probably be able to catch up with his strength soon, and it will definitely be the top combat power of Qishan Temple in the future. It is better to be a dog for Jian Wushuang than to sell his life to the gods. At least after getting along these days, he could also see that Jian Wushuang was kind enough to repay him. Give Jian Wushuang some help now, and he will be sheltered in the future. This deal is very cost-effective. Click. The pillars of the Jidao origin began to shatter, which not only made King Bai frightened, but Jian Wushuang felt the meaning of death. The pillar of origin is broken. What kind of operation is this? For a while he was a little afraid to break through. But how overbearing is the power of Jidao and Jian Wushuang, who could not tolerate the operation of his own consciousness, began to appear countless cracks in the pillar of origin, which would collapse at any time. Jian Wushuang stood above, shaking a little. He seemed to understand it too. No wonder the power of all things had no source. It had always been in the center of this pillar. Now that the pillar of the source has collapsed, he may be able to completely master the power of all things. After understanding this, Jian Wushuang began to increase his efforts. The blood crystal of the beast was firmly held in his hand, and almost all the blood on it was swallowed clean, without a trace of waste. Boom! The pillar of origin trembles for a while. The crack has expanded to the depth of several battles, and an unprecedented power of all things has exploded. All the spirits burst out, and the breakthrough was only an instant. King Bai, who had been hiding behind the ultimate source in the distance, poked his head out, his eyes shrunk a little, and secretly said, Jian Wushuang is crazy, and the source is about to explode. How about that? It was too late to remind. After all, it was the origin of Jidao. He hadn't heard of it at all. It was still in Jian Wushuang's body that he discovered that there are such powerful origins in the universe, which is simply unthinkable. He was very vague about the ultimate, not to mention seeing Jidao. When he first discovered it, he still felt nothing, but when he saw Jian Wushuang's combat power, he was completely shocked. The ninth rank Dian immortal. Killing the Third Order Emperor is like killing a pig. It is simply outrageous. Now that you break through again, you can fight Tier 4. This hasn't reached the limit yet. Once it's on the verge of harmony, I'm afraid that it can be done at that time when cutting Fourth Order. Some of the Dao monarchs who are against the sky will directly become the Third Order Emperors after being in harmony. The Ultimate Way, or Wan Daolu, and some powerful special beings will go straight to the Fourth Order Emperor when they reach their limit and rejoin the Dao. Existence like Jian Wushuang. I am afraid that after he joins the Dao, he will be close to the Fifth Order Emperor. Even if he does not reach the Fifth Order Emperor, it is probably the Fourth Order peak. Broken. With a loud bang, the pillar of the source was completely shattered, and the source space immediately began to expand with the surging aura. The space that used to be 1,000,000 miles has now completely spread, directly breaking through the range of tens of billions of kilometers. Countless huge original fragments float in the original space. Now there is only one pillar left. The Ultimate Way still stands in the center of the original space. The White King looked at everything idiotically, his eyes leaked huge shock, and his voice trembled and said, "This is this space?" In the past millions of miles, Jian Wushuang's spatial origin has also reached an introductory state, and has not improved much. After all, he is not an emperor. But now this scene reminds King Bai of the origin of space. Such a magnificent space was evolved from the extreme way, and it was already comparable to the origin of the Fifth Order Emperor's space. Moreover, the fragments that the poles of the extreme roads turned into, each contained extremely terrifying power. Jian Wushuang took a breath and slowly floated. Standing on the source pillar of the Ultimate Way, I glanced around. From the bottom of my heart, I also have a clear understanding of the road ahead. These fragments cannot be kept. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.